Yes, it's a Monday. I hope that you had a great weekend and looking forward to greatness throughout the week. My name is Linda Alela and this is Morning Cafe right here on your favorite channel, that is TV47. It's good to have you as we take a look at what to expect for the better part of the week. It is the conversation of our students sitting for their examinations, as well as, that trade of barbs at the level of politics, and as well just looking at the glam that has been there for the better part of the weekend in terms of fashion, in terms of wins. That is the Kalasha Awards. Most of the best of Kenyans, in terms of art, are being celebrated and accorded nice and different gifts as to the greatness that they bring to our tables every time that we're talking about film, we're talking about art, and so much more. Later on, we'll be talking matters health, equally very, very important, because then, of course, health is wealth, and I'll be telling you what we'll be focusing on shortly. But before then, we look at the papers, the Standard newspaper, the People Daily, as well as the Daily Nation, and we proceed to the news stories of the day. And now to the conversation. The hashtag, as always, is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela. TV47KE. That is how you get to speak to us, and we'll be sampling some of your comments as we continue with the broadcast. And let's take a look at the papers this morning. As I have said, we have the Standard, we have the Daily Nation, as well as the People Daily. Mr. Director, the People Daily. We start off with the People Daily. Yes, there you go. The People Daily set back as MCAs reject ministers. I think this is one of the stories that we'll be talking about. It's been a tussle on the CECs across all the different parts of the counties, while those ones that have been presented, or the names that have been presented by the governors, are, appear to be good according to them to serve their very own executive. It looks like the members of county assemblies are not, happy about this, and therefore a majority of cases that have been presented to the level of the courts challenging this. This is a story captured on page 7 of the People Daily. And away from it, burden of parents with school-going children. That is as to matters education, and expounded on page 2. From high fees, confusion over CBC, change of calendar, and massive job loss to COVID-19. It is all painful. That is quite unfortunate as we wait to see just how our students are able to adjust to the new calendar, or perhaps coming back to the original calendar of education, but most importantly adjust to competency-based curriculum, and what we'll be expecting for January, that is 2023. As well, on the question of politics, demos, bring it on. Ruto dares the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, saying that he will guarantee him security even as he goes out to conduct these demonstrations. President asked Kindiki to provide Azimio leader with security for his planned countrywide rallies, as he accuses him of blackmail in an effort to derail Kenya Kwanza development plan for the country. A story captured on page 4, the biggest story that we'll be looking at. Remember, this was slated for last week on Tuesday, but then again it was postponed for this very week, the 7th of December, as of course citing the fact that we had our students sitting for the examinations, and therefore the Right Honorable Raila Odinga termed it necessary to hold the demos until this time around, when of course we'll not have our students. But then again, the irony of it all is that we still have those ones that are sitting for these examinations, the Form 4 students, ongoing, and just we get to see whether indeed he proceeds with his threat or he will make the necessary adjustments. This, as a majority of leaders have said, they are not going to join in the side of Jubilee and other quarters that sit in Azimio 1 Kenya, as well as specific individuals, and they say that it would not be necessary for them to take that direction. The Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, says he can stick to the opposition. Let the old man hear it from me. Here at the slopes of Mount Kenya, there will be no handshake. The only handshake President Ruto is interested in is with Hustler for the Hustler Fund. And so we'll be getting to see just how well this will augur, and how best, of course, this will achieve for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, or what would be best for him to achieve out of it. Away from it, and we're taking a look at what the Standard newspaper details this morning. The Standard newspaper equally speaks of the mass action that is slated for the 7th of this month, and mass action, Ruto Raila lock horns, and of course President Ruto warns the opposition Raila the opposition leader, that is Raila Odinga, against shedding blood and damaging property during the planned Cherera 4 protests, even as Raila Odinga criticizes Ruto's leadership style and insists that the public rallies will go on. This is captured on page 6 and 7. And of course, President William Ruto has directed the Interior CS, Professor Kindiki Kithure, to provide security to protesters but deal firmly with lawbreakers. Equally, President accuses Raila Odinga of planning to use demos to stop government from delivering on pledges, and he equally says that planned protest aimed at blocking Muchelule Tribunal from probing IEBC's Cherera 4. On the other side, opposition leader criticizes the president of skewed appointments notes. Some communities were left out. Equally says that Ruto is lying of lying. He accuses the president of lying that the Hustlers Fund would be free, but it's now being charged, and vows to press ahead with public engagement rallies. That is on Wednesday and as well on Jamhuri Day. This is on the front page, as I have said, expounded on page 6 and 7. The biggest story of the day, the story that we'll be talking about alongside the gentleman that will be joining me shortly. Babu's huge task to clean up roads in sports sector, and poor leadership, mismanagement, embezzlement of funds with federations, and a lack of sports infrastructure are among ills that the new minister must confront. That, as captured on page 12 and page 13, we'll definitely be looking at that as we continue with the broadcast. And Baobab State Agency's abated export of trees. And this other side, the Kalasha Awards, glamour at Kalasha Awards, as of course different talents were being celebrated. World Cup fashion. A story captured on page 38 and 39. The game is still on. France doing its thing. England on the other side as well, beating the Senegalese. It was a match like no other, or there were matches like no other. And of course, a 1 month affair of pomp, color, win, lose, tears and joy as the world continues to celebrate the World Cup. And we are following up closely on constant days where we're having this analysis conducted by our very own right here in the house. That is the sports team, alongside other people who are always on the lookout as to what is happening, or who are always, just following what is happening to update you more. That is most of the afternoons from 2 p.m. going all the way to 4. Now, safe houses to be established as temporary shelters for migrant workers in districts. This is deadly voyage for hundreds of young women leaving Kenya for the Middle East in search of domestic work. Every month, chances are that they would give up the promise of a better life are slim, or despite tales of horror and death at the hands of cruel employees and employers, with the promise by Labour CS Florence Bore, that is to prioritize Saudi Arabia in safety interventions, bring the madness to an end. That is the question that the Daily Nation is asking, as captured on page 2 and 3. Sigh of relief, one would want to say, especially when the government is keen to address this matter at these very levels of the different states, just so we would guarantee our very own girls' safety, even as they go out there in search for greener pastures. Raila, my war with Ruto. It's on the question of high cost of living, lack of ethnic balance in appointments to state house jobs or to state jobs, and plan to import genetically modified maize are among the reasons for Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance leader Raila Odinga's displeasure with President William Ruto, and as well in his Kenya Kwanza administration. A story captured on page 4. We'll be looking at it as we continue with the broadcast. This, as Gachagwa's power plan says that quest for Mount Kenya leadership linked to laying foundation for presidential bid. A story captured on page 8. Transfers and teachers are happy. Head teachers, welcome end to delocalization policy, and they say it was a home breaker. A story captured on the back page. Remember, most of the teachers would find their way, or would be taken to different parts of the country, far away from their very own homes, which they did not like. And of course, this then comes as a sigh of relief, because finally they'd be able to get slots in the own localities, and this then would mean that as well they'd be able to keep their very own families. And the question of the Hustler Fund, which is also one conversation that we'll have, about 2.9 billion of Hustler Fund loans disbursed already, and appetite for cheap loans is high. But just how instrumental will it be in transforming the economy, which then is the ultimate goal? Question of wait and see. Those are the papers this morning. Allow us to briefly look at what my team has prepared as pertaining to news. And we start off on this very interesting story that a young man from Bahati in Nakuru is living proof that one person's trash can truly be another's treasure after he used damaged electronics to come up with a radio station that broadcasts across 25 kilometers. Daniel Gadhaya, commonly known as Mawaya, has also invented a sound-controlled lighting system which requires one to only whistle and the bulb lights up. Our very own Chichi Josephine interacted with a village innovator and filed this very interesting report.
21 kilometers from Nakuru Central Business District to Bahati, we meet Daniel Gadhaya busy fixing his antennae to scan for a clear signal for his radio station. Daniel, who was a member of Science Congress back in high school, explains his innovation journey that was also inspired by the country's development blueprint, the Vision 2030, and he wanted to be a part of those championing technological innovations by the time the blueprint comes to fruition.
Nilipokuwa shuleni, nilikuwa naenda sana Science Congress, so kuna zile project ambazo nilikuwa na present, so zilikuwa about lighting, zingine ambazo zilikuwa ni about zilikuwa ni about frequencies and na kile kitu ambacho nilikuwa nafanya sana, kile ambacho nilikuwa napenda sana, nilikuwa napenda kufanya kitu practical, si kusikia, si kitu ya kusikia, nilikuwa napenda sana kufanya kitu practical.
In 2013, he invented a transmitter that broadcasted across 200 meters. And later in 2019, he came up with another that he says has been so helpful in passing important information to the community.
I did a project ambayo ilikuwa inaitwa ni transmitter, but by that time ilikuwa ina cover a range of 200 meters, about 500 meters, but sikufa moyo. From that, I think it was 2013. So in 2019 hapo ndio nilipata upanuzi wa mind sana, cause huwa nafanya research pore, nafanya research kuhusu those transmitter. So I made a transmitter, and this transmitter may help sana, in fact in our community, even in our area imesaidia sana, because yangu ina fikisha information.
The 101.7 Mawaya FM now broadcasts across approximately 25 kilometers, a project that the villagers proudly laud as one of their own.
Yes, kibao chake Judy K, thank you Jesus, ndani ya studio za FM 107.2. Unaweza wasiliana nasi kupitia SMS namba 0790529915.
Kama vile ambavyo nilikuwa na promise, I'm going to be back.
Kijana kona innovation mingi amefanya, tunasikiza radio mpaka tukiwa pale tunafanya kazi ya pikipiki.
Utoto yake aliaja kama ako form 1. Akaendelea na vitu mingi, hata anapeleka radio huko shule. Inakuwa tu ikiibaga huko miski. Kufika form 4 nikaambiwa na mwalimu, tutahisha hii kitu ya mtoto hii ndio asome. Na ikawekwa, nikaitwa huko na ikawekwa.
Yes, Steve, nakuona sana pale upande wa Facebook, mkiwa na Riza, na waona tena sana. Thank you. Na request yenu iko njiani na kuja. Usitoke.
In 2020, Daniel took his innovation a notch higher and invented a hand club bulb, and later broadened his project and invented a sound command switch which requires one to just whistle and a bulb goes on.
The first project I did ni kutengeneza a crapping sound bulb, ambayo bulb ilikuwa una crap makofi hivi, bulb inawaka. By that time nikaangalia nikaona maybe kuna watu ambao hawawezi ku crap, kuna watu ambao hawawezi maybe hawana mikono, maybe walemavu. So nikarealize sound, watu wengi they are gifted in sound.
He says that his personal challenges inspired him invent the system, adding that this will go a long way in assisting people with disabilities who cannot reach a light switch.
Watu wengi tumesikia, watu wengi wamekuwa shock. Nikaangalia nikaona hakuna mahali unaguza stima, so hakuna mahali ati mtaenda mwenye tu ana deal na hiyo kitu ni yule mwenye ataguza stima tu, ni yule mwenye ana install the gadget. Lakini ukiwa nyumbani tutakuwa una command tu.
His proud parents explain that Daniel has been their source of joy as they call on well-wishers to help him accomplish his dreams.
Kama huyu kijana ukimsaidia, ako na mambo mengi, ataweza kusaidia vijana wengi. Na kusaidia vijana wengi ni kusaidia Kenya yetu.
Na tulisema hii serikali yetu ni ya mahasara. Sasa kwa vyema venye serikali inaweza chukulia isaidie huyu kijana, tunaweza furahia sana.
With the dreams of becoming a great scientist, Daniel says he still believes in his dreams and now hopes to work closely with the government to realize some of his dreams.
My vision is that nitatengeneza kampuni ambayo itakuwa ni kubwa, ambayo itakuwa imehold vijana wengi sana.
Thank you Daniel.
Daniel is the great mind behind these great innovations, a clear indication that Kenya has great potential. But the question remains, who will hold their hands throughout this journey? Chichi Josephine reporting for TV47 from Bahati Sub-County, Nakuru County.
Oh, that's a beautiful one. And you know, my camera person is telling me that in the event that we have someone in the house who keeps snoring, you know, that kind of snore, he's here, that goes like... So that means every time, the whole night, it will be on, off, but it's certainly something to appreciate. Now, Nyanza residents have been urged to join the government in ensuring that various initiatives aimed at improving Kenyans' lives are successfully implemented. While speaking during a food distribution program in Siaya Town, Information CS, that is Raila Odinga, promised the residents that the government will establish fish processing plants along the Lake Victoria beaches to boost food production in the area.
And remembering back home.
Farmers in Alego Usonga constituency Sunday received a relief food that was distributed by government officials in a way to caution them from hunger. According to the Cabinet Secretary for Information, Communication and the Digital Economy, Raila Odinga, the government will next year supply farmers with quality seeds and subsidized fertilizer to enable them boost production.
Mining, we will pursue a policy and legislative framework that is enabling to ensure that those whose farms are the farms where gold is extracted from get resources, revenue to a level commensurate with the required levels. We don't want a situation where foreign international firms come here, they extract gold, they give very little to the common mwananchi, and then they repatriate all the profits.
While speaking in Awelo grounds in Siaya Town, Owalo noted that among the projects to be initiated is the exploitation of Yala Swamp to turn into a food basket.
To the area of fishing, the government will establish fish processing plants along the beaches in places like Usenge, Nyamonye, Luanda Kutieno, and several other places. So that the fish exploited from the lake is processed here and exported, so that we have got adequate resources emanating from fishing to a level commensurate with the potential that we have in this region.
Owalo also said that the Kenya Kwanza government is focused on improving the economy and will not engage in political rhetoric.
His Excellency the President has already proclaimed himself to the effect that the time for politics is now over. It is now time to offer services to the common mwananchi in line with the fundamental challenges that is facing the common mwananchi. And in that vein, the Kenya Kwanza government will serve all Kenyans indiscriminately, irrespective of the voting patterns that we witnessed during the last general elections.
The CS was accompanied by, among others, Suba South MP Kareli Omondi, Siaya Chief of Staff Cyrus Oguna, Siaya County Commissioner Jim Njoka, and former Kisumu Governor Jack Ranguma.
Now, a group of women professionals from Machakos County have raised alarm on the effects of ongoing drought, which has resulted in water shortages, low vegetation conditions, a degradation of pasture for livestock, and absence of crop growth. Speaking in Mavuko, the professionals say the drought has become a big threat to food security and has contributed to an upsurge in early pregnancies. They vowed to champion a campaign aimed at sensitizing the community and also joining hands with other private and government organizations to change the situation. They called on leaders from Machakos County to join hands and help the most vulnerable residents.
A lot of kids have been molested. We got a lot of sodomy and a lot of early pregnancies which are happening in our communities. So even as a group of professionals, that's one thing we want to deal with, so that in the end our community can stand. Because
already outlining solutions that we think are most appropriate for our region. And of course, we cannot do this alone. We will be linking up with the communities, working very closely with them, and in the leadership in these areas, looking at what works best in terms of agriculture and sustainable agriculture in our communities. And this
I want to appeal to the government and other stakeholders to assist this group in achieving its objectives by supporting us, even in the county governments, in the national government, so that we can be supported to be able to achieve our obligations without interference.
Now, Kenya National Commission of Human Rights, that is KNCHR, has decried the rising cases of gender-based violence in the country as the world commemorates 16 days of activism against the same. The chairperson of the commission, Roslyn Odede, said the government is committed to working together with civil rights organizations to end cases of defilement and teenage pregnancies, which have become rampant in Kwale County. Chichi Josephine with that.
The commission decried the rising cases of gender-based violence, defilement, and early teenage pregnancies that have become rampant in some parts of the country. Speaking during the official opening of the Social Justice Center in Kinangop, during an event held to mark the International Day of People with Disabilities, Human Rights Agenda Executive Director Yusuf Lule said this center will go a long way in addressing human rights cases.
Tumepata Kinango kweli iko na shida mingi. Ya kwanza kabisa hamuna hata koti hapa Kinango. Hiyo inamaanisha ya kwamba kufikia haki, ku access justice ni ngumu sana upande hii.
The coast-based organization Human Rights Agenda has so far managed to resolve over 18 cases related to GBV, land disputes and killings of the elderly in Kinangop sub-county.
Katika kesi hizo ama malalamishi hayo mengi yaliyoletwa hapa ni kuhusu kesi za dhuluma ya kijinsia ama kwa lugha ya ungenge wanasema sexual, gender and based violence, ambazo zimekithiri sana katika eneo hili la Kinango, ikifuatiwa na mizozo ya kuhusu masala ya ardhi.
The center, which is funded by the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands through UNDP Amkeni Kenya, is also expected to ensure that persons with disabilities who are victims of GBV have access to justice due to lack of a law court in the area.
Kupitia hii ofisi, watu wenye uwezo maalum watapata majibu ya matamanio yao. Kwa sababu tulikuwa tukienda kule polisi, watu kama sisi tulikuwa si rahisi kutambulikana.
Wewe, nimemwambia huyu ni kweli
Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
Religious leaders in Trans Nzoia County have joined hands with the local security personnel to enhance community policing as the festive season kicks off. Our reporter Boniface Baraza with the details.
In a meeting that brought together religious leaders with men and women in uniform at Kitale Police Station County Headquarters to forge a partnership on how to enhance community policing, majority of Kenyans have been blamed for being hesitant in providing information to the police.
Polisi ni walinda usalama wetu. Kwa hivyo ukiona chochote inafanyika huko kwa mtaa na unaona si kitu kizuri, approach to polisi ndio tuweze kusaidiana na wao kulinda usalama.
With members of the public being blamed to be hesitant in providing information to security apparatus, they have been challenged to embrace the police officers in order to realize community policing.
Polisi ni marafiki zetu, ni watu kama sisi. Wengine wameolewa na raia wameolewa na polisi. Kwa hivyo we are in a community. Mambo ya wizi katika huu msimu wa Christmas, ningependa kuambia wananchi wenzetu ya kwamba hakuna mtu anapata mali kwa kuiba.
Members of the public have been urged to be on forefront in providing information that will help curb insecurity cases that have always been on the rise during festive season. At the same time, the police officers who are battling depression have been challenged to share their frustration with their close circle in order to avert cases of suicides among the police officers.
I'm very concerned anytime nasikia polisi ameua mtu, na ninajua hiyo ni kwa sababu ya depression. Unajua mara nyingi either mambo ya mahusiano ama mambo ya kukosa mapato ni madogo, na sasa jamii hawezi weza kuweka jamii yake vizuri, na wengi wanaona wajitoe uhai. Ninataka kuambia ya kwamba that is not a solution.
The event saw police officers being awarded for their service in the community. Bonfas Barasa, TV47, Trans Nzoia County.
Now, primary school heads have affirmed that they are ready to host junior secondary learners beginning January next year. According to the Kenya Primary School Head Teachers Association, domiciling junior secondary schools in primary schools will save the government the agony of failing to realize the 100% transition from primary to secondary schools. And Rin Kilemi with the report.
It is a windfall for primary school teachers following the government's decision to have junior secondary schools domiciled in the existing primary schools. The primary school heads now say that they are ready to host junior secondary learners beginning January next year.
We have the capacity to take care of our children from grade 7 to grade 9 in primary schools. Sometimes I get surprised when people talk about capacity, because when it comes to the teachers, they have upgraded themselves by furthering education. Right now, we might be having more than 60% of our teachers in primary as graduates. Then, in terms of infrastructure, the children who are to transit to grade 7, they already have the rooms which have been vacated by those who are going to standard 8.
Kenya Primary School Head Teachers Association Chairperson Johnson Nzioka, speaking Sunday, said domiciling junior secondary in primary schools will save the government the agony of failing to realize the 100% transition from primary to secondary schools.
So we are leaving the secondary first to actualize the issue of ensuring 100% transition for all the standard 8 graduates to make sure they have a space in Form 1.
About 1.2 million grade 6 students sat for their inaugural Kenya Primary School Education Assessment KIPSEA and are expected to join junior secondary schools in January next year. This as President William Ruto is Tuesday expected to launch the 18th KEPSHA Annual General Conference themed Managing Transition of Competency-Based Curriculum for Effective Nurturing of Each Learner's Potential. Andrin Kilemi, TV47, Nairobi.
President William Ruto has vowed to serve the Mount Kenya region equally, development-wise and in leadership positions. This is after leaders from the Mount Kenya East region accused the previous regime for allegedly dividing the Mount Kenya region. William Moige with more.
President William Ruto has given a guarantee to residents of Mount Kenya East that they will get equal opportunities as Mount Kenya West region without any discrimination. Ruto, speaking at a Thanksgiving service at the University of Embu, told the residents that the area has already benefited from the latest appointments of top leaders in the Kenya Kwanza government.
Tusiharibu tena muda wetu kwa mashindano madogo ya kisiasa, kwa mambo ambayo ni ya ubinafsi ya viongozi. Tujue ya kwamba katika uchaguzi huu tulienda pamoja, wananchi na viongozi. Viongozi wamepata vyeo. Sasa ni lazima tuwatafutie wananchi pia, kwa sababu wao tulikuwa na wao katika uchaguzi.
President Ruto also reiterated that in the development plans the area has been listed to benefit greatly, especially in the construction of dams which were to be constructed by the Jubilee government and which will boost agricultural activities in the region.
Irrigation itatusaidia kuzalisha chakula. Kwa hivyo dam ya Dhochi hapa, dam ya Kamomo, dam ya Rupingazi, dam ya Dhambana na zile zingine zote ambazo iko katika mipango ya serikali.
Earlier, a section of leaders from the area led by Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire asked President Ruto not to divide the Mount Kenya region into the West and East in leadership positions and development.
Kenya inainuliwa, viti zote zinaenda wapi? West. And we made complaint about it. And I remember the deputy president saying, "Apana, this time round, hatutaleta Mount Kenya kati yetu West na East." And I thank you because we've seen you have actually walked the talk. You promised us, Your Excellency, and it's happening.
The leaders thanked President Ruto for the leadership positions the Eastern region has already benefited from.
Na tukakuita jina, tukakuita Marete. Marete ni kumaanisha kuleta. Na ninataka kushukuru Mungu kwa sababu today ni Thanksgiving Day. Kwa sababu huyu Marete ambaye tulimpatia jina 2011 ameleta mengi.
Umetuchukulia minister kule Meru, Minister for Agriculture Linturi, ukakuja Tharaka Nithi ukachukua very powerful minister naitwa Kindiki, hapa Embu ukatupatia Attorney General mwenyewe wa Kenya. Thank you very much.
The Mount Kenya region is made up of 9 counties, with the counties of Nyeri, Nyandarua, Laikipia, Murang'a, Kiambu and Kirinyaga making up Mount Kenya West, as Embu, Tharaka Nithi and Meru being grouped as Mount Kenya East. Mwige William, TV 47.
Now, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga insists that he will hold public consultations on Wednesday in protest against the removal of 4 IEBC commissioners at Kamkunji grounds in Nairobi. The meeting had been postponed from last week due to the national examinations that were ongoing. And as Micah Gungo reports, President William Ruto said all measures will be put in place to ensure security of Kenyans and their property is restored in case the protests turn into violence.
The war between President William Ruto's government and the opposition continued Sunday as Azimio leader Raila Odinga declared that he will go ahead and hold the planned demonstrations on Wednesday. Odinga was to hold the demos last week but only postponed them over national examinations that were ongoing. Odinga says it is time to oppose what he terms as President William Ruto's dictatorial leadership.
Tunaenda Kamkunji. Tunaenda Kamkunji. Mtakuja Kamkunji. Mtakuja.
But in a quick rejoinder, the head of state assured Kenyans of their security if the planned Azimio protest take place, warning the opposition leader against any extraordinary activities.
Wangekuwa wanafanya kazi ya upinzani, ni wale tunawajua, sio watu wageni kwetu, si ni wale tu wa maandamano wa kawaida. So mimi nimemwambia Professor Kindiki aulize hawa watu schedule ya maandamano, ndio tuwapatie askari ya kuwachunga wasiharibu mali ya watu. kama wanataka kufanya every day ama every week ama every month, na kwa miaka ngapi, watuambie wanataka kufanya hiyo maandamano.
Four IEBC commissioners led by Vice Chair Juliana Cherera opposed Ruto's presidential win. Odinga claimed that the four stood for the truth, taking into account the oath of the office they took while being sworn in last year.
Sasa yeye ameenda pale anavamia wale commissioners 4. Wale commissioners 4 walisema ati wakubaliana na Chebukati. Chebukati alitoka alfajiri saa 12 akaenda nyumbani kwake. Amekaa mpaka saa 9. Kauri namna hii anasema yeye ako na matokeo. Wale wakauliza hii matokeo umepata wapi? Anasema yeye ofisa yangu amepiga hesabu. Hiyo hesabu umetoa wapi? Amekataa. Cherera should not be punished for having a divergent opinion. Constitution yetu Article 10 inasema a right to freedom of expression. Therefore, it should be exercised without interference from public authorities.
Odinga has accused Ruto of not being truthful by reportedly selling to them the same fertilizer his government is getting free of charge as donation from other nations.
Alafu anasema ati analeta bei ya mbolea chini. Mbolea amepewa bure, anauza shilingi 3,500 kwa gunia. Je, Yesu ni bandia leo?
Raila at the same time accused Ruto of firing some principal secretaries allegedly to create room for his own people. The PS, he said, are civil servants, and regardless of the administration that forms government, they should not be sent home.
Political secretaries are civil servants ambao takikani serikali kibadilika ati wanafutwa kazi. Wanafuta principal secretaries hata karibu hata kazi. Alafu wanaajiri na wanaleta ubaguzi. Sasa katika hiyo kazi ya civil servants, permanent principal secretaries, ametoa watu wote, ameleta watu wengine, na mingi yote ameleta tu kabila yake.
Mike Kagwongo, TV 47, Nairobi.
All right. Wow, interesting. That I hope you watched that story that we carried earlier on about this young man who's quite innovative, and he gets his bulb on by a whistle. And so when my director counts down and whistles, it gets me laughing because it reminds me of that. And so here we are, and we shift gears a bit to a very interesting moment of the conversation. Expecting 4 gentlemen, 2 are already here, and we'll be having them join me in this very, very important conversation. It's a Monday morning, and so we just take a look at the general stories that are taking center stage in the country, the politics of the day. Definitely that very last story forms the basis of our conversation as we await to see whether then the Right Honorable Raila Odinga will make good his threat Wednesday to take us, for that moment of, just speaking of what he terms as the ills of the Kenya Kwanza government in a space of, mass action. And of course, the president says that he will be there to accord them security as expected. It's only for them to declare their schedule, and it will be interesting to watch whether indeed he does this. And the gentlemen that join me for this very conversation, the ones that are set, Dr. Peter Mbai, governance expert. Dr. thank you so much for creating time to be with us. And we also have Abdullahi Alas, governance and policy analyst, and equally a journalist like me. Asante sana for creating time to be here. You see, yes, what makes me question this talk of the mass action is that last week it was postponed because we had our students sitting for the examinations. I'm meant to understand that we still have students sitting for the examinations. And so just what is different this time around?
Well, I think first of all, there is the right of Right Honorable former Prime Minister to lead protest in this country, which is within his constitutional mandate.
Yeah.
But also there is the right of Kenyans who are doing their exams to have a very peaceful session. So it is up to him on how he wants to balance. The demonstrations, as you said, we have heard the president saying that they are going to be provided with security. If it's about, showcasing or demonstrating their dissatisfaction with how things are run at Kenya Kwanza, they are free to do so under the constitution. But destruction of properties or destabilizing other programs within the country, whether it's the transport sector or the education sector, because within Nairobi there are schools.
Yeah.
So what happens in the event that the, demonstrations start as early as 6, and then there are buses carrying children, there are secondary school students doing their KCSE. So we should strike a balance and act very civil in the matter, but there is no doubt that he has the right to demonstrate. As a Kenyan enshrined in the constitution, things that we fought for a very long time. But equally, he has the responsibility to make sure that, one, it does not lead to destruction of property in the country, especially within Nairobi. Nairobi, remember, is the hub for most of the African countries, NGOs, international NGOs. Most embassies are here, more than 150 or 30. So it is incumbent upon how those demonstrations are organized, and then the police also should be very strict. Their work is to keep law and order. So if a person right to demonstrate turns into a criminal by either mugging or assaulting someone or robbing a shop, then it shifts immediately from being a demonstration to a criminal activity where now you'll be charged with robbery with violence. If you go into a shop either with a knife or any other object, hit somebody on the head and then take some money, you're not a demonstrator, you're a criminal who will be charged under, the law. So I think we should be very civil. And the tendency of agitating that you must always be in power or you must be in office. I contested for different offices in Mandera County one time as a member of parliament. I was defeated. What do you do as a person? If you have a profession, you go back to your profession.
Right.
You go work, live alive, go read, make babies, and fight another day. You don't just agitate every day to say that I must be in that. It's not a must for you to be in the office. We had how many presidential candidates? 4 or 5?
Yes.
Before
Wajakoya is nowhere to be seen. So, has gone back to his business.
Yeah, Wajakoya is an advocate of the High Court. He's an activist. Maybe he does things. He's reggae and music and whatever he does, and then he's in London right now, maybe doing his stuff. So Raila has done a lot. No one can deny that. But it reaches a point in life where, as a man, you must handle the mantle or guide people to always, because whatever he was tortured for, as Abdullahi, whatever I believe in has nothing to do with the love for Kenya. It's a personal conviction. It's about me, and then what I think I can change or what I think I believe in. In that pursuit, he was tortured. He has been allegations of a lot of things against him, whether it was the coup in 82 or, other stuff. And then he was among the, leading the young thugs, the likes of James Orengo and, the lawyer, the senior lawyer.
Otiende Amolo?
No. He was one time a Kabete MP.
Paul Muite.
Paul Muite,
yes.
Paul Muite and all these guys and the senior Kenyans. So it was a generation to generation. Today here I am advocating for good governance and better policies. So it's a generation leading to another generation, but it cannot always be destruction of properties. Kenya is already, struggling as a country. We're just back from the COVID, economical effect. Economy has just grown last year. It has gone down 1.57% the other time of COVID. Now it's gaining back. Formal sectors are employing back. The corporate, even though the informal sector is still absorbing 80% of Kenyan employees. So we need to be very civil about this country. One person's right to protest should not lead to another person's right being infringed.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, and speaking of the fact that, yes, the Wajakoyas of today have gone back to their business, that David Maore is back in church and perhaps in the legal field. The Right Honorable Raila Odinga has known politics. He eats politics, lives politics, and therefore that is his life. As he does this, really, do you suppose he's going to achieve anything? Last week we were talking about it and saying that maybe he should reconsider his position, and indeed many lauded him for saying that he is not going to, conduct this this mass action. But then it was just a postponement that is slated for this week. And equally, we still have our students sitting for their examinations. Do you suppose that he is going to make the necessary adjustments in terms of postponing this? And equally, if he doesn't, just what does he get to achieve out of this?
Thanks so much, Linda. And again, a good morning to all our viewers. My thinking quickly is that Raila feels very bad that he didn't do this from 2018. He was deprived of himself. What he does best.
Okay.
On the other hand, he used what he did to get into power that time. So the leader, is a leader who always go to the streets and who does all those kind of things, hoping something will come out. Now, secondly, according to the issues, because the whole issue here is to interact with the commissioners, right? The ABC commissioners. For me, he feels sad that maybe, and this is, I'm saying here because of course we don't go to the details. Somehow, the commissioners, if according to the Supreme Court there was some political and a lot of influence, he is fearing them to go to the tribunal because the commissioners can decide to just go and say as it is, just for their lives. Remember, tribunal is not the end, Linda. You can go to the tribunal and give the whole story a new shift. So he is fearing, that's the whole issue here. They should just not say mandamano. That's why he cannot wait for the end of exams. Because, the tribunal is supposed to be sitting. So he has to put the pressure now. People are seeing, here it's about the commissioners, right?
Yes.
But remember, the commissioners can decide, okay, let's go and spill the beans for once. And say, so that people can know what happened.
Yes.
And that's what he doesn't want. Maybe he's thinking the government will decide his decision on the tribunal and all that, and maybe negotiate with the commissioners. That's what he's hoping. So the whole idea about this mandamano thing is to cause not so much 27 or anything, or even the power sharing thing, is about influencing the huge commissioners. Now, I just hope, if, and I want to say this subjectively, very objectively rather, if commissioners were used politically to try to subvert the will of the people of the vote, I hope they were compensated well by the people who used them. Because therefore, it will be a big loss. He's feeling, we call these guys to do this, they are losing their jobs, They can turn against them.
Yes. And decide to say that this is what happened.
They can decide.
If it was the case.
Exactly. If it's the case. They can turn aside and say, look here, guys, you told us this. You told me you are in power. You're going to protect us. We are going to lose our jobs. You either give us the money or we're going to spill the beans. No, that's the whole issue here. That's why it is so current to him. He cannot wait for exams to end or anything. Maybe he felt pity for the primary schools, but for the secondary, they can...
It can't, because time is not on his side.
So the whole issue is a tribunal.
Yes.
And that's why, for me, I want to laud Justice Nyang'aya. And he said he's a man of faith. I like that. The conscience is very important. You want to leave this world a free spirit. Somebody bothered him, said, I did all this. What is the best thing? Let me go. Now, that's about the conscience. But me, I will not go and say, please, can you go out? Because somebody will think you're trying to shove them out. And maybe they have a right to go to the tribunal.
And legally, if really they were not compromised, then it is in order for them to go through the process. That's why I'm saying that actually,
I would say this. If they were not compromised, they should go pick the Bible, appear in the tribunal, and let us understand that they were not culpable. It is a symbol. That's why we are saying about the rule of law. That's why we are talking about governance structures, government systems. So why should they fear? Okay, yes, if you think that it's too much for you to give out in the media, in the public, fine, like in Nyang'aya, you can go. But I'm saying, why can't they just appear if they think that they are being accused unfairly?
For the sake of the Kenyans who are watching, Daktari, that at the level of the tribunal, these three now can be saved in the event that, of course, it is, their case, they register their case and it is listened to, and then there's going to be a determination. At what space does it get to if they have to face the tribunal? And remember, this is a tribunal that is headed by Aggrey Muchelule, and many pundits would argue that, well, at some point, he owes the president and therefore would dance to the tune of the president.
Good. There are two things there from a governance and political science perspective. One, legally, politically, they may not be saved or maybe retain their jobs because they are seen as tainted. They are seen that in the first place, you are able to move out from the other side to try to subvert. That's number one. So the current government may not be very comfortable with them. However, morally and legally, they can get a chance so that even if they are not remaining there, there's a way they can give information to the tribunal and try to save their skin personally. Try to say, excuse me, this is what happened. This is what happened and all that. However, be very careful. Listen, be very careful, Linda. Whatever they say, if they go to the tribunal, remember, the tribunal can give a recommendation for their being charged.
Yes.
So you need to be very careful.
Right.
Before you go and say, I want to go to the tribunal, remember, part of what the tribunal is going to say is to try to prefer some charges. So it's very, very important for you to be very sure.
Yes.
What is the end?
Going to face.
Yes. By the time I'm going to face the tribunal, either it can go either way. It can say, it can exonerate me. Now, the problem of exoneration, Linda, is one. The problem I have. Remember, sitting me here and you, and we were with you here, right away from elections time. Everybody didn't know exactly. This is Chebukati at Bomas with men in black and all that. And these are the four. So, honestly speaking, from an objective perspective as leaders, we were not sure. And that's why we kept telling people, because we are not judges, because the matter has gone to Supreme, can we wait for the final word? Because the judges, Supreme judges were able to look at all those documents. Finally, they were indicted and Chebukati was verdicted.
Yes.
So, based on that, I don't see a very big possibility where the three commissioners now hoping to face the tribunal are going to walk scot-free because they were indicted by the Supreme Court. So they should be very careful. Now look at Nyang'aya. He said, okay guys, please look here. This story is too much for me. Me, I don't want trouble. Whatever happened, and I'm gone. At least there's that issue of, that's what gentlemen do. If things come against you, look, if they come against you, you don't keep on fighting. Okay. Sometimes you say, let me look at Atwoli. If there's a man I want to celebrate today, Linda, I want to say this.
Francis,
just 1 minute.
Interesting.
If there's a man I want to celebrate, because Atwoli is this guy, just like Saul in the Bible. He goes through this way and does whatever he knows best. And he gives Ruto, it all. Literally, he was not talking about Ruto in Wedos. He would say, this man, he will never. We have our man. We are going to go for this. The moment elections were announced, the moment we went to the Supreme Court, Atwoli only took 2 weeks, I think sabbatical only. That week, I think the fourth week, he was in his home ground.
Are you telling this?
Look at that. Look at that, Linda. Look at that. Look.
Abdullahi.
He is here saying, this is my position. Workers want Raila. And he went, and he didn't hide. But the moment Chebukati announces, then Supreme, pole, he goes and says, guys, we tried, but we outsmarted. Look at that.
But are you telling the three other commissioners to resign? Is he telling them
you see,
that?
First of all, the idea of resigning is a personal choice.
Yes.
So whether he was led by consciousness or he's conscious or he knew things and he never wanted to be part of the process of the tribunal is another thing. Linda, Kenya is a country that is led by the rule of law. You cannot just mob just people.
Yeah.
But going back to Raila's handshake and what he wants to do or what he did not do then, it destroyed Raila. Okay? It destroyed Raila in the sense that he was eating the cake. And there is a time, I think November last year we were here, 2021. And we said, these guys are going to be, coalitions, they're going to be swallowed by Kenya Kwanza or Raila. That happened. Now, did really Uhuru support Raila?
That's the question.
That's the question.
To date.
Yes. Because I said in this show, why is Uhuru not taking Raila to Sagana? There was Sagana 1, 2, and even 3.
Yeah.
He wasn't taken there. Now, when Ruto became the president, in the inauguration, he was named as the peace ambassador, and today he's enjoying it. He's enjoying it. So I think Raila was played, and he didn't realize.
Okay.
And what he did not know is that the Machiavellian principle of destroying people. When a man is loathed in equal measure, you will rather be feared.
Yeah.
And when you want to destroy your friends, you destroy them very badly. Today, whether it's a Tuoli or the tribunal, that's not important. What is important is Kenya has a constitution and is a country that must believe in the rule of law.
Yeah.
When Chebukati was announcing the results, we saw Cherera announcing part of that result. I think it was only few hours that she left and gone to Serena. The question is, if there were issues that they were concerned about how things were run, even from the preparation of the election, from the materials, from the sourcing and everything else, these things don't just build up that day. There was no documentation of protest, either to Parliament or even to the chairman himself, documented. Because Kenya is a country that works within documentation. You can't just come up with innuendos and hearsays. Now, that did not happen. The suspicion we had is when Cherera started announcing those results, and remember, Dennis Itumbi was releasing videos of senior people, you know, circling around, you know, Bomas of Kenya, and the chairman complained about harassment and these things. So, government machinery, there were people who were very strong then. So there might have been attempts to change the results, but because of the system we had, and I'm sure Chebukati had a list from the 2017 election, and then he was just having a checklist. This, the Supreme Court says this, we deal with it. So by the time we were coming, the elections were coming from the polling stations. And the Maina Kiai's decision then talked about final results are from the polling station. Judge Wanjala, the Supreme Court asked, in the event a form is taken from Mandera or Webuye, if someone has interfered with it online, what about the one on the road, in the box, that was sealed in the ballot box? So what needs to happen in the country is to allow people to do what they are supposed to do. The Cherera 4 will have a time before the tribunal. I'm sure they are very close getting advice from their lawyers, advocates, and they will appear there. What they do is up to them. If they were, as my colleague alluded, if there were things that were done behind the scene, either financial or otherwise, then that's up to them. It's none of our business. They were working for IEBC. They were paid by Kenya taxpayers. They were not paid by Kenya Kwanza or you know, Azimio government. No, these were just outfits, political outfits that were, you know, working to get to ascend to power. So what needs to happen is that I'm sure the tribunal is led by a judge, senior judge. The vice president is a former LSK vice president, Madam Caroline Kamende, a very distinguished advocate in the High Court with a very good repute. So Kenyans will watch. Now, will Ruto work through his mechanisms to get his way? He may. He may. There are other ways. You don't have to talk to the chairman or the vice president or whatever who is doing. There are mechanisms within government machinery. You can look at what happened to the permanent secretary's case in the courts. They just vanished.
And they were sworn in.
They were sworn
just
in
the other day.
And it was not concluded.
Daktari is not in agreement that they just vanished. And you know, even without maybe being coerced, Muchelule would perhaps feel like...
Before even the election, there was signs of Ruto being smart in how he engages both the judiciary and IEBC. Now, when he came to power, he first sworn in all the judges. He gave them their budget.
Muchelule being one of them.
Yeah, Muchelule being one of them. So it will have been reasonable even for the president to appoint someone who was not in the six. He will have been free.
Yes.
Because there are guys we know. There is Judge Ngugi Mumbi, whom I have appeared before her with my cases. There is Vincent John Odunga, guys we know in this. There is Isaac Leonona in place. So there are judges in the Court of Appeal, in the High Court, who have taken. When you pick one of the six that you appointed, I mean, it's just common sense, but even if he's going to be honest, there will always be a cloud hanging around him. But this guy might be biased.
Daktari, allow us to take a short break and then we come back on that phrase.
Those are very serious.
Allegations. Well, an observation. We're coming back to you to respond to them after this break.
Of untold stories. Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Utakubaliana nami kuwa wapenzi ambao hawajafanikiwa kubarikiwa na watoto huhangaika mno kabla ya kupata suluhisho la kudumu. Bisara na Bwana Heinz kutoka Ujerumani wanatueleza jinsi walivyonasuliwa baada ya panda shuka na mapito mengi, lakini baada ya kuwatembelea madaktari wa Makini Herbs Clinic walifanikiwa kumpata mtoto.
Tulipokutana mara ya kwanza, yeye alikuwa anataka mtoto na pia mimi nilikuwa nataka. Fight like 1 year hatukufanikiwa. Akaniambia the best way tuende kwa daktari tukaangaliwe. Tukakaa kuangalia tuenda wapi, tukapata tukaambiwa tuende Makini.
I come from Germany near Frankfurt. I'm very happy to stay here on this place in Makini Clinic. My body is full with energy since I have the baby.
Katika Makini Herbal Clinic, magonjwa mengi yakiwemo sugu hutibiwa. Kwa maelezo zaidi wasiliana na Makini Herbal Clinic kwa nambari za simu zifuatazo.
Wetu hapa Kenya, Mwenyezi Mungu ametujali.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
At MKU, we have been making deliberate efforts to reduce inequalities by offering opportunities to all in order to bridge the gap of inequality in our society.
Hello, Carlo!
We continue to train job creators and guide our students to think outside the box. Watch the inspiring story of this academic giant on Friday, 9th December 2022 on TV 47 starting at 8:45 a.m. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities. Mount Kenya.
On the next episode of The Realtor.
I know in the past you have discussed the process of land ownership.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs.
All right, and it is a full house of, yes, activities. Perhaps the gentlemen are now all here, and now we get, perhaps we just swing to action officially. Ingine ilikuwa kidogo tu mwanzo mwanzo. Daktari is banding, he wants to respond to Abdullahi, but just allow me, Daktari, to introduce the other gentlemen that have joined us. Right next to you is, of course, Daniel Orogo, governance expert. Daniel, it's been a minute. How are you?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Karibu sana.
Pleasure to be back.
It's always good to have you around. Asante sana. And also joining us is none other than Dr. Eric Regalo, political analyst. Asante sana for creating time to be with us. Kamkunji unasema mtaenda?
Nitakuwa.
Utaenda huko?
Lazima.
All right. I don't know whether you will. Well, we will come back
Lazima.
to that. And of course, still with us, Abdullahi Alas, as well as Dr. Peter Mbai. Dr. I know you want to respond to Abdullahi before we loop in Dan and as well as Eric, just to tell them what it is that the two of you think about this conversation of a mass action and whether Right Honorable Raila Odinga is sort of losing it in terms of the direction that he takes. But yes, in response to the Muchelule matter.
Just quickly, one, he alluded to the fact that some sweeping statements, Uhuru prayed later. Let's not go back there. What I believe happened, what I think
history.
That's why it's important to clear it.
You know, Kenya Kwanza people are known not to like history.
For record, please, what I believe, Uhuru was very genuine. He didn't want Ruto anywhere near. Let's be very candid. He was very genuine. He didn't want him near there. But of course, after the elections, it's another level.
Again, you constantly remind me of Irungu Kangata.
Yes.
Every time I see you.
Yes.
And Irungu Kangata, says that there's a time he asked the then Deputy President, William Ruto, whether there's something him and the President are not telling us. Yes. And the Deputy President did not respond, but laughed. I don't know whether you'd call it sarcastically, as if to say that indeed there's something that we are not telling you.
That laugh was meant just to be that. Remember hold on a minute. Now listen.
Okay.
Political theorists like now will not come and tell us stories which they didn't tell us then.
Okay.
That's number one. No, in political history, you learn to be able to make decisions. Listen, after the decisions were done, it would be statesmanly for Uhuru. He had lost. Okay, his line of coalition had lost. He had to take it as a statement, and he's doing very well, right? Okay. The former president is doing well.
Now, let me
advise
and accepted.
Advise him that here we talk one person after another.
No, he knows.
Let me say this, Linda. Let me say this for avoidance of doubt.
Right.
From where I sit, is that for real, for sure, the mathematics of Uhuru was to plan a post-election of 2022. And he knew the best person to save however his interest around was Raila. So this issue of, please, can Raila people go and look for other scapegoats? Let them not begin attacking Uhuru. No, he helped them completely. And for that, he lost the whole Mount Kenya region. So look at, please let go and look for other things about what may have happened. Yeah. And they should begin by telling us where the 400,000 people who are registered voters in Nyanza didn't vote. I mean, those are the issues they should be looking at, not begin blaming Uhuru for things he didn't do. Now, number two, kindly, the PS case, it was very clear. This idea, we are going to get it wrong, Linda. I mean, as a government person, I want say the truth, say something consistent. So tomorrow, whatever I say here, somebody can ask me, what did you say? Oh. It's very simple. Very, very simple. It's between a judge. Yes, you came to court prematurely. Go come at the right time. Nobody is preventing anybody to just go to court and say these things don't measure ABCD. The rule of law must take its issue. Look at the issue of the tribunal. This idea that you are picking judges who are seen to be this. If we go that direction, we are going to be living in this country for many years, 20, 30 years. We are going to get it wrong. Can you go and present your case? Today, there are other, what we call oversight bodies. Linda, as a judge, you cannot be allowed just to make a judgment that does not make sense, okay? There is Judicial Service Commission, there are petitions, there are everybody else. So please, can we move on and demonstrate? Look at what happened. We went, there was a Ruto here and there was a Raila. There was Raila backed by Uhuru. Look here. And then
that is how Dr. spoke. No. That is how Dr.
Ruto went.
Yes.
He chose.
And he went against all that and he won. He was announced winner by Chebukati. Announced winner by the Supreme Court. So what are we talking about? Can we respect the institutions and go by them?
Done.
Should not be and by the to tell my brother, we are not fearing Raila.
We will come to that. We will come to that.
No. We will come to that. This country, this Kenya, this country is not fearing.
So we will come to that. But let's allow Dan come in. Let's allow Dan come in. Four things here, Dan. First of all, the planned mass action. We came to that spot where we're asking, well, we still have our students back in school. Okay.
We are meeting people in Kasarani to talk to them. There is no mass. Do you know what is mass action?
What do you
It's
think
not mass action.
Okay, it's not mass action.
Call people in a ground, talk to them.
Fair enough.
Let's use the right language. No mass action.
It's a simple conversation with the people of
Kenya.
Let
us media be careful of spanning words that are not there, and let the side of Kenya Kwanza stop thinking that we are demonstrating. We are not demonstrating. We want to tell Kenyans the truth. Did Raila demonstrate yesterday?
No.
He was in Utawala. He talked to people and he left. That is what we are going to do.
All right, it's the opposition leader speaking to the people.
Yes.
Dan, one thing about that as well, therein we understand it's triggered by the Cherera 4, and now there are 3 because Nyaga is out automatically. And definitely the conversation as to where, you know, all this started for us to get to this point. And of course, then we speak of the PSAs, the cases that have been in court. And Abdullahi would ask a question. We begin from that point of asking, did President Uhuru Kenyatta really support the Right Honorable Raila Odinga? That the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is in this very state where one would want to argue is his element. This is the right Honorable Raila Odinga, but just what then in terms of what he seeks to achieve out of it? Is it over and done for him, or when he is in his element, then he's likely to achieve anything?
I think Linda, from my assessment, I would look at that in different dimensions. I keep insisting on the panels every time that, you know, while looking at post-electoral processes, it's a matter of those who win trying to consolidate power.
Yeah.
As much as they can. And those who lost that elections trying to reincarnate themselves politically.
Yeah.
That is within matters of political theory and all these, you know, shenanigans within the political cycle. Here it is an issue. And while I was going through the analysis of, you know, this kind of move yesterday, I want to tackle it in 2 ways. One is we are having a coalition, you know, Azimio, you know, with the Azimio coalition of that political factions, you know, is trying to maintain the relevancy post-election. And there's debate whether they lost fairly or whether elections was interfered with again. And of course, like my colleagues have said, the judicial processes took its course.
Yeah.
A ruling was made, it was accepted, others did not accept it. Look here, one, we are having His Excellency Raila Odinga that has more than 1 million voters. More than, I'm saying equally, to what the current president had. I think the difference is within, you know, less than 500,000. That means that the people who backs him up is still a lot in this country.
Yeah.
And that he cannot be wished away as just electoral, somebody who lost election. We have been here from 2013. We have been here in 2017. We are here in 2022. I don't know whether we call it mass action or consultation.
Okay.
But whoever word that we are calling it, it is gathering people politically to listen to a political communication. And that can direct the course of a history post-election. I think that is one thing that we hear. My friend, Dr. Agala, I think we've been in this set talking about this thing again, and we are back talking about it every time. So this is the thing, that one, we are having the chair of Azimio, who doesn't want to be associated anymore as the chair of the summit, and is embarking on reconciliation in the region.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
And trying to bring peace in the east of Democratic Republic of Congo as a mediator over peace processes. And
Eritrea,
you know, and Eritrea, and recently he made a breakthrough in the northern Tigray region when he united the Tigray people with the Federal Republic of Ethiopia. And a big success, you know, a big success to the people of Kenya, a big success to the former president, who is still the chair of that summit. But then we have a partner who has detested the electoral outcome. And I'll say that, you know, I am embarking on consultation, which he is a peaceful and understand the democratic processes, but might not control the people, their decision. So we are having our leaders, one, like I've said, is trying to bring peace in the region. But the other is detestified about the electoral outcome. And if we are not careful, he might not control the outcome of that consultation. And he's a peaceful, he's a democratic person. So that is the dilemma we are in. And like I've said, other pundits, political pundits would want to say that Raila is reincarnating himself. Because there's a similar narrative in 2017. You know, the electoral is lost, you begin to poke holes in the IEBC.
Yeah.
You know, Machozi Mondays, reminiscent of what we had seen way back in, you know, Chebukati must go and other commission must go, that degenerated into chaos within the city, that, you know, ultimately led to discussions on how to form, you know, a handshake government.
Yeah.
But allow me also to be very just to the processes. Matters of demonstration, matters of picketing is constitutional in this country.
Yeah.
And anyone who would want to gather people, to listen to them, my worry is that we are gathering people on Monday morning when the country should be productive. You see, when young people should be, you know, working. But however much that is, people have a right to turn out, to listen to their leaders. You know, minus intimidation.
Okay.
Because we are past that in this country. And I like the responses that the president has given. That if we would want to, you know, have a political consultation, I don't know why it's called a demonstration, because it's not, you know, headed there yet.
Okay.
They have said that we want a consultation. In a consultative process that risk, you know, having unruly protest, then that is where the president have said we are giving you security.
Let's allow
so I think it's a fair process.
It's a fair process. I know we haven't responded to the Muchelule matter and the IBC 4-3, but then again we're going to come to that. Dr. Ragalo, that when someone says what Baba doesn't know or he knows but chooses to ignore is that the more he continues with his old ways of doing things, the more he continues to lose key and strategic allies. That the call for maandamano and constant bickering or perhaps consultation is only isolating him more and more. Would that be misplaced a statement, or would those ones be misplaced statements?
I want to greet Kenyans and tell Kenyans, first of all, they should not listen to the government propaganda. Ruto telling Raila bring it on. Today is on People's Daily. There's nowhere Raila said he's going to fight anyone. So when you tell Raila bring it on, where are you seeing?
It's the choice of words that fail us.
No, it is own choice of word, and he's entitled to choose it as he thinks. It depends on the logic. I was in the school of critical thinking and logic, where there's more of communication and how you, in critical thinking, what you perceive. So the premise of what you think, you remember the premise under critical thinking, it depends on where you are brought up. So if you think someone saying, I'm going to fetch water, someone will think you're going to drink water. So when you take cows to drink water, they will drink differently. One will kneel to drink, the other one will drink straight on, the other one can decide to lie and drink. So if you thought Raila saying, I'm going to meet my people and talk to them, is telling you that I'm going to demonstrate, and telling Raila that you give a schedule. I mean, even police, they are only given a letter that I'm going to have a meeting. You don't even tell them anything else. So who are you that we give you a schedule? You give us security, you like it or not, because we are entitled to security, and security of every Kenyan is important vis-a-vis a development of our country. So waache kushtuka. Mr. President, wacha kushtuka. We will be in Kamukunji. I shall be there. I've always been with Raila. I will be with him, and I will be there until the end of that meeting. We will tell our people things that have been happening. We will tell our people that CDF is unconstitutional, but you brought it back.
It is one thing to say.
We are going to tell our people.
It is one thing to say, Eric. It's another to achieve something out of this talk.
Tell your people. Tell them, let them hear. Kenyans have always been saying, Raila amenyamaza, Raila amenyamaza. When Raila talks, you start thinking of demonstration. When Raila amenyamaza, again it becomes a problem. We will talk. We are going to tell our people that we are not here for goose chase bumps or whatever it is. We are not here for hot air. We are here for cool air. And to tell the
when
truth.
When they say that Right Honorable Raila Odinga is perhaps finding ways of just, repositioning himself politically, then when we have this conversation, is it about him? Is it about the people of Kenya? Is it about you, Eric?
Let me tell you, Linda. When Raila was tortured and tormented in 1992, where was Ida? Where was Fidel? Because Fidel was alive, and Rosemary and others. They were the ones suffering. Okay? Where, that is 1992. Where were they that in the government today? Were they not the ones happy that Raila was getting tortured? Yes. So when Raila was getting tortured then, was he doing for himself, for his political reincarnation, or was he doing it for Kenyans? That a question can be answered with your question. We are going to tell people what Raila used to tell them that time. We are going to tell people that people who had been removed because of corruption issues have been returned. Waititu has come back, and many other have been returned. Is that what Kenyans wanted? We are going to tell our people that the PSs do not fit the beam. Where are the kisses? Are they not part of Kenya? If you bring 51 PSs, give 47 communities PSs, everyone one. You remain with 4, then give to whoever we want. So where are the others? Are
this
they
would
not
go back
part
to
of
the
Kenya?
courts. I mean, this would still go back to the courts that have vindicated this process. To achieve what, really?
No, we are not going back to the court. We are telling the court of the people. If the public, if for example, Linda, you want to take it to court, it is your own will. But we are going to tell Kenyans the truth. This is the Kenya you wanted, where GMO does not go through cabinet of everything, and then it is passed. We are going to tell Kenyans, do you want GMO? If you want GMO, do we have GMO flowers? No. Then if you are believing in God, GMO is what we call in medicine cloning. Thou shalt not make another human being. You cannot clone a human being. Then why do you clone other items? Why do you want to make a human? Let me give a maize a human being. Can you make another maize in your life? Then you want to clone a different maize? Was God not so wise to bring maize as it is that you want to make a different maize?
Yeah.
So you want to eat cloned things? We want to ask Kenyans the truth. Do you want GMO to come and destroy your soil? We want to talk to Kenyans. We are not demonstrating. We want to demonstrate in the minds of Kenyans. We ask them, they get mad.
Will this trigger anything, any form of change, a revolution? Will it give us, fruits that are positive for that matter?
Well, I think right now, whichever resolutions that is going to come out of that meeting or conversation is yet to be determined. So you can't preempt people who never met. But as a country, there is this danger, even in the counties, where when you go into a political contest and you win, you think the government belongs to those people who won.
Yes.
It's a very dangerous thing. The political process of contest is to make sure that we have people who are in power and people who are out of power. That does not take away the rights of every Kenyan to be in government. Okay? If you look at the cabinet, it is not, you will not say it is not balanced in terms of communities in this country.
Yeah.
You will see that 2 regions have taken larger share, even in the previous government, because the people who voted them come from those regions.
Yeah.
But now, when we were contesting under the Constitution does not mention Rift Valley or Central or Northeastern. It mentions rights of every Kenyan. Now, it is putting into question the maturity of our democracy, the maturity of our elite-led democratic process, even in government. I told you we have the political elites, we have the economical elites, we have the judicial elites. Those are the guys leading, because we have a cabinet about 22, 23 who are worth 15 billion. Could you call them those are hustlers? I mean, Musalia Mudavadi said he's worth 4 billion. Is he a hustler? So the concept of governance in this country, and we say we believe in the democratic process, democratic processes in people who are democratic, you give your opponent positions that they're qualified to do the work because they are Kenyans.
Right.
Because they are qualified. Because they have the right. But when you bring people, because my region, you were just watching the clip, we were given a PS as people from Mandera now. We have a cabinet secretary who is from Garissa. How is that going to change the villages, poor people in Garissa or Mandera Wajir? Taraka Nithi, where Kindiki, the professor comes from. How is that going to change the poor child who goes to school barefooted? The concept of idolizing elites is what is destroying the country. What is needed, like now, roads have been built through central Kenya. If I drive them, it is serving me, and I come from Mandera. So if there is a good hospital in Muranga, my cousins live in Thika. If there are good hospitals in Thika, it's not only for the Kikuyus. It is for every Kenyan who lives around there. So we need to improve services for all Kenyans. Roads are not for communities. Hospitals are not for communities. We call them public utilities. That's why clean water is for everyone. We should focus on Kenya Kwanza, as you've seen the Hustler Fund. I have registered myself. I wanted to check. Up to today, I did not get a message. 4 days down the line. I asked my cousins also to do. They were given a maximum of 500 shillings. Now, how is 500 shillings going to change the life?
400 and something.
No, it's 500, you know, like that. So what needs to happen is this. What needs to happen is this.
130.
What needs to be improved in this country? And I want my brother here to also read economy. It's not only governance that improves everything in this country. The economy part is an integral part of good governance.
And I mean, on the basis of the economy, the campaign.
Yes, the campaign even. If you read the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics that was released the other day, the 4 main, disciplines that absorb most Kenyans, one is education. Where lecturers, administrators, secondary teachers are paid more than 100,000. Okay? Then we have the manufacturing industry. Then we have the finance and manufacturing. The highest informal sector that absorbs 80% of Kenyans is agriculture. Is agriculture. Is it? What are we doing, and what's the budget of agriculture, even in the counties? We are building roads. We are building tarmac roads and building bridges. Those are infrastructural capital. Those are long-term plans.
Is it not too early to fire shots?
No, not him only. Look at the government he was part of in 2013, 2017.
Okay.
Even the one of Kibaki.
Dr. perhaps to answer that, in as much as we have, a copy of your manifesto that speaks huge about the agricultural sector and what the Kenya Kwanza government intends to do, it would be ironical to even imagine that today, again, we speak of the GMO, perhaps to whitewash everything about that manifesto that speaks hugely about the agricultural sector. So what exactly is going on in terms of making sure that this, gets to experience the boost that you envisioned and that you promised the people of Kenya?
I think I'm looking at it this way. We are actually within, not even more than within 100 days. And I'm talking this way. I'm talking as a Kenyan. I'm talking knowing that about 7 million voted for Kenya Kwanza, another 7 million voted for the opposition, another 8 million didn't vote, and another like 2 million even didn't go to, they are of age, but they didn't register. We're talking about Kenya and not Kenya. So when I talk, I like talking, with the other person in mind. So let me say this. We need to relax. We need to know this. Kenyans are just fresh from an election. We must give time for the government that won elections to put in place systems and structures. We must listen to them as we speak. Then ask questions the ones you're asking Linda in a relaxed way so that they can get answers. The moment you ask a question when you think already you have an answer, then there's no need of asking. Then we are going to say, let's move on as you continue saying whatever you are saying. If you begin shouting and all that, we're going to say then you don't understand what you're saying. Number one, among the issues, 6 issues Raila has listed is GMO. He's talking about imbalances. He's talking about all those other things. For example, my brother, and I want to say this in 1 minute. Linda, if 500 shillings is too little for you, go with your logbook and title deed, go to those banks, negotiate, get your loans. It's not meant for you. What are you doing poking your noses in something which is not yours? If 500 shillings can get somebody to buy eggs and make a profit, why is that bothering you? I mean, I want these people to be serious. Let everybody be serious in this nation. If I don't need the 500, And I want to solve that debate there. I don't want to go on. Number 2. Now, who says, Linda, in this country, that if you want 22 CSs, you go pick 22 tribes? Surely, we cannot go on like that. No, if we don't get somebody who we think is qualified just because we have to balance 47 communities, we cannot go like that. Leader is my time to go.
It is your time. It is your time, Dr. You have to make it very
my time. No.
Yes,
Leader is my time.
It is your time.
I'm just saying, let me repeat it again. I have worked previously in the Public Service Board as a commissioner. I have been a state officer and both a public officer. So when I talk about governance, you can ask me. You cannot come and say, now we have to line up, because you discover, Linda, there are other opportunities that such communities get more because they are qualified. Okay. And by the way, I'm not going to talk more about that. If anybody have issues, go back. LSK, join LSK, go back to court, go and please, rule of the law. Even if we talk here about PSs, there's a matter that was dismissed, go back again, and it will be solved by the court. That's the best way to go. Look at the issue of GMO. I don't want to talk out of time. Literal knowledge is very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Allow us to take a short break and then come back on that. After this short break.
What's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Na hata uondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
All right, and of course, we have the gentleman on set, Daniel Orogo, Peter Mbaye, Abdullahi Alas, as well as Eric Ragalo. Let me take it from you to Daniel Orogo.
Wait a minute. We know very well, okay? Yes. What happened is this. The issue of GMO is simply an issue of helping to multiply food. It's what you can say. We want varieties that are more resistant, that grow within a shorter time, are more resistant to diseases. Simple. Go to about 6. I'll mention 6.
Caro, hybrid.
We talk about Caro. By the way, let me tell you this, science. How, Linda, would you expect a whole cabinet sitting, they consider the reports. Look at Caro, Isipe. We have 6 science organizations. We cannot have politicians. Now they have turned them, they have put some codes and they want to assume they are now scientists. Go and get reports from Isipe, from Caro, from 6. We have 7 nations.
Why didn't you do that before making this declaration?
Was there?
No, because, thank you so much. That's a good question. Linda, we have had this task force and reports since 2012. Okay. When the matter first came up in cabinet, it has been there. The reports are there. So, and because we had to we have to move very fast because of the issue of food security. That's the whole issue, by the way.
And it appears as though you've countered the reports that have been there initially. That is why you reverse.
And by the way, Linda, look,
it was
Nigeria,
banned.
South Africa. I mean, we have about 7 countries in Africa alone. Look at the US and all the major. We must not stop technology. Look at the issues we had with technology and M-Pesa. People fear technology, but that's the future.
And I'll ask again. What does it do to the plans that you had in terms of agriculture in your manifesto, which really did not?
This is what happens.
Linda,
We are
science
not,
and technology.
According to what I know,
this is not technology. This is science.
The government is not backtracking on that. Actually, it's multiplying.
They lifted
Done.
It's multiplying.
Done.
It's going to multiply food security here in production.
That's what I said, that I think we should listen to the experts on the issues of GMO. And,
have the experts been engaged anyway?
This is always, because then if we come here and then our little, probably that's why Dr. said little knowledge is dangerous. But I think we are justifying that, of course, who is speaking on this issue? And I think Dr. Agalo had mentioned it last as well. Who is authorized in the cabinet to speak about issues of GMO? Is it Moses Kuria?
Or
is it the agricultural minister? I think those are the questions that will tell us what is the interest within this whole debate. Even in context-wise, the country that Dr. has given us equally, we should actually look at what context, because then, as you mentioned, that this was the ban was lifted up. It's been within the cabinet, the way it's been mentioned. But in what context was this lifted up? Is it for the benefit of the country? Is it within people who are practicing hoarding and doing trade within this whole debate? It was such a coincidence that even as this was being canvassed widely, we received the news that already a ship had docked. Even within, as people are talking about it, is already a ship that was docking with all these, GMO fetid maize within the coast. My issue is that we, as Kenyans, needs to listen to the experts, even within the reports that he has mentioned. It is important, and each and every process, Linda, where is the public in all this discussion? Centrality of Kenyans, public participation. If that is done within throughout, like within 2012, what are the voices of Kenyans and their opinions in all this issue about GMO? But globally, I think the issues of dealing with climate change needs to be discussed. Because then we are facing shortfalls of rains. Give it fair to the government as well. And that's why I said each and every conversation, we need to be fair to the process. Where we listen to the critic, but also give the government an opportunity to express. We are having a population that must be fed. Rains are failing. There's issues of climate change. We are not able. Because even within subsidizing agriculture, that is, that Dr. Agalo has mentioned, and Alas has mentioned, that agriculture being the backbone that provides the surplus of food and feeds the country, due to the climate change is failing, then what do the government have to do?
You see, this is a point of conversation, and I'm glad that you bring this up, Dan, that the fear is this. Are we going then to go the GMO way, import products that are already, of course, cultivated in other places for food, or we're going to take it the seed way? And if we decide it's for food, how do we control that aspect of cultivation, that aspect of seed? Because then we're also looking at our yields and, the repercussions in future. And therefore, creating this balance is actually what brings the problem. That is fine. We can incorporate or we can import this for food to make sure that we cushion our people at this dire moment, but control that it doesn't get to the level of seed. But who is there to control? How do we understand the fact that, we need that discipline and that in future we're going to protect our yields?
I think this is this whole conversation. That's what I'm saying. That we have research experts within these institutions that have been mentioned and domiciled in different ministries. I still insist that even as I said, we are limited in terms of our understanding when it comes to issues of biotechnology and food production.
That's true.
We might not conclusively, say this with authority. And this is where, Linda, this institution come in for us to gather experts and listen to them. Matters of research, matters of subsidizing. And one of the things that I had is the dependency. Once we adopt this, then we are going to be so much dependent on seed. And this is very dangerous as a country. That's why I'm saying, to that extent, my knowledge might be limited in terms of trying to deal with the issues of food production in technology. But allow me also to say this in conclusion. This needs to be corrected. Dr. We really need to talk about this. You cannot say that within a population of over 40 million plus and 42 ethnic tribes, that in your distribution, in the role of integrating within the government functions, that you miss other tribes because you cannot find expertise within these tribes. I think it is a matter that
I will play the devil's advocate. I will play the devil's advocate. Is that what Dr. Really? All right. We're going to come to you.
That's why we are saying it is sad for him to mention this in this panel. That with your experience that is respected and canvassed wide in the formation of a government, and the laws are very clear. That once you are forming a government, it should reflect the face of a nation. It should be diverse as possible. And there is no debate about it. You cannot overrule a provision of a constitutional for relevancy, for efficiency. This is how it goes. However much, you look wide and you cannot get these people, this is what the law provides. This is what the democracy that the president have insisted always has to be provided. It is sad, and Dr. Agala said, that you cannot get a PS from Kisii region.
Surely.
I mean, what is the trajectory? That you cannot get people to integrate so much from northeastern provinces. Is it lack of expertise? Is it lack of a political goodwill?
I think how important
let's really be realistic when it comes to distribution of this.
How important is this, Dan, in relation to it being a provision in the constitution, but equally in relation to what Alas has just mentioned, that just how will it benefit the people of Kisii if they're going to get a PS from that region? How will it benefit the people of Tharaka Nithi if then the CS for interior is Kindiki Kithure? Beyond these phases of regions, we really need to get good leadership. We need to get people who will represent Kenya. And perhaps that's the reason why the Yala conversation was a little bit shaky, because it doesn't matter whether then Winnie is an Odinga. What matters is that she's able to represent us as expected.
Linda, in history, do you know we don't have 42 tribes?
We have
more. Luya?
Luya
is not a tribe. And we should stop saying Luya is a tribe. Luya is amalgamation of over 20 tribes. Do you know we have over 60 tribes in Kenya? To be honest. These tribes were formed by the white man. And that is how the name Kalenjin came in, because there was nothing Kalenjin. If you do history very well, there was nothing Luya. There was nothing Mijikenda. These names were formulated to bring groups together. And then those groups became a tribe. Like Luya now became a Luya tribe, which is wrong. We have over 60 tribes in Kenya. And tell you, over 60 tribes, these are 60 countries. If you have to divide them like Europe, where Belgium is a country of people who talk one tribe. Britons talk one tribe, French, what? Let's go there. So we have 60 tribes who are distinct with different structures of thinking and everything. Before Kenya was formed, these were government. Luos, they were Luo nation. They had their structure of government. So when they were brought together in a joint state by a white man, we didn't do this. So we had to coexist with one another. As a brother, you don't forget that you need to bring one of them into the table to also give you diversity. You can pass. When I did sociology and anthropology, I was taught every tribe has his way of life. You cannot, as a medic, prescribe and tell a Masai, enda upike mayai. Ndio upate protein. Atatoa wapi mayai? Na Masai hawafugi kuku. Are you getting? When you're doing management of a patient and you're doing nutritional management, you can't prescribe a mayai to a Masai. So when you bring this tribe, you bring diversity into the government. When you're policy making in the government, this person will tell you, hii policy ukieka, it affect sisi sababu sisi tuko hivi. When you don't bring them in, how do you want to think for them?
Linda,
man, you cannot think for a kisi because you're not a kisi.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. And this is sociology. Bro, your time will come. This is sociology and anthropology. Okay? So what I was trying to say is not that it has to be a Masai must be there. But surely, if you miss a Masai, have you missed a Samburu? Who is even closer to a Masai? Are you getting?
I get the point.
Are you, when you miss someone in Baringo, Tugen, have you missed Ogiek?
But you also acknowledge that we can't just get everybody there.
You can.
You can.
You can?
You can.
It is possible?
Listen,
we are just 60.
That's why we have 47 counties.
Okay.
And every county is predominantly of an
certain tribe.
Ethnic outfit. But in Nyanza, they must employ, like Kisumu, they must employ 30% from outside that county. That's why we have, if you go to Mandera Public Service Board today, there is a non-Somali in the front desk. Okay? The positions of non-Somalis in Mandera are 9%.
So then why are we complaining so early? Perhaps these other tribes are going to...
we will complain. That's what we are supposed to do as taxpayers.
Okay.
We are supposed to complain.
With the assumption that
with everything we have.
Yeah.
Remember, we own the government, we pay taxes. So we will complain to the government every day.
The government is paying.
Correct this, correct that, correct this. My brother is from Central Kenya. They were used to entitlement for a very long time. They produced 3 presidents. Now the water is under their carpet. For the first time, they are now deputizing a president who was their deputy before. Because they brought 3 million votes, rightfully so. Even those in Nakuru and Laikipia,
he's from Nakuru.
Yes, they brought, like, I'm talking of the Mount Kenya outfit.
Yes.
They brought, rightly so, about 46 to 50% of the government. Does that mean I should not be employed as a PS?
Definitely no.
That's no. Because Central Kenya is 1 out of 8 regions. If hell breaks loose today, okay, they will be affected like us. In Mandera, in Nakuru, in Eldoret, or everywhere. When you're building a country, you don't look at regions. You look at posterity of all Kenyans. Okay? That's why when Kenyatta came to government, he destroyed devolution. Because he wanted to have a grip of power, centralizing everything. If we had devolution from 1963, and Kenyatta Senior did not destroy the devolution then, Majimbo, Mandera would have been paradise. There will be no Al-Shabaab.
You think so?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
I will tell you this.
I mean, there's been distribution.
Listen.
Yes.
How long do we have devolution in Kenya today?
Yes.
10 years.
10 years.
Mandera has 6 sub-county hospitals.
Evident change, yeah?
All of them can do CS, cesarean. For the first time in 58 years.
Yes.
Okay?
All right.
Yes, that's true.
We have employed over 4,000 people in Mandera. Today, Mandera town is tarmacked.
Yes, that's
okay. Infrastructure, we have our own. For the first time in 58 years, Mandera County has a headquarter where the president can visit. Previously, we only had 1 or 2 ministries working. Ministry of Works or Ministry of Health. They only used to bring these gloves and some small things. 54 years of independence, we got 9 billion. The first budget, we got 8 billion.
Are you trying to say that perhaps then money was being taken to a certain region?
Yes. How many industries are in Kiambu? How many industries are Kiambu? How many industries
or it's the leadership that failed the people.
The leadership then.
Yes.
Because Kenyatta Senior was a Kikuyu. Central Kenya benefited most.
More.
Is it so?
Listen,
and therefore you also agree
when Moi came to power, most of the roads in Rift Valley were tarmacked.
Abdullahi, then this contradicts your earlier statement that, you know, when Kindiki Kithure is representing the face of Tharaka Nithi, that maybe they might not get much.
No, what I'm saying is the history of this country has been like that.
Yes.
We can't continue like that.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, that in Mandera today, in 1963 to 2013, there were not many people from other Kenya in Mandera working. They were only national employees. But because the revolution came, radiology, in the radiology you will find Kenyans. Dentist, you will find a Jaluo or a Kikuyu or a Kisii everywhere today, because we have changed our thinking of governance structures. We said we cannot continue like this. So we've changed that.
There needs to be the aspect of region balance, yes.
It's okay, fine. You know, the mistakes of the first government, 1960s, even me, I was not born in. I was born in 1976, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you're talking of theories. You are not born in 1814.
We learned from history. Yes. But we are saying, that's why we have devolution. Who brought CDF Act? It's President Kibaki. So, can we stop this thing?
It was a member of parliament, not Kibaki. It was a member of parliament.
This talk, on this age, 21st century, this issue of obsession with tribes. Listen to the clip that Munyi gave the other day. I mean, Nyerere. Look, please, can we talk about communities and talking towards one nation? I have a problem personally. Having go to school, to come here and begin say, look here, we thought we are 47. Now he is telling us we are actually 60. So somebody will go and say, we are actually not that. Even Tiriki, there's a sub. Don't call them tribes. Those are sub-tribes and sub-clans.
Oh, God.
Look at this. Do you see that leader here? The other day we had the problem here. About some MPs come and say, we are not happy with the county because although we thought that county predominantly is made up of these communities, no, we are not feeling comfortable. We want our own county. That is the danger of thinking tribes. Now, let me say this from where I sit. Linda, one, I agree generally, we need as much as possible to reflect the face of Kenya in whatever we are doing.
Thank you.
There are so many positions. Government alone has over 1,500 positions. Like from CS, PS, CASIS, High Commissioners and Envoys, a chairman of parastatals, and board members. Let me pause there. So, there's something you asked one of the panelists. Kindly, can you allow the formation of government? That's number one. Let me pause there. However, the moment, Linda, we begin thinking that we are lining up tribes, because the word tribe is so archaic. We are lining tribes here. No. We must look here. Because Linda, as you have he has lately said, is not a panacea for the problems on the ground. Can we talk about devolution? Let's talk about what we said about CDF, right? And that one we have agreed as Kenyans, okay? Let it go to the constitution, let it be anchored in law. Can we talk about devolution? Let's talk about strengthening devolution. So that without saying that in Mandera there are Somalis or Meru is a Meru county, the community, we are saying Meru is a county that over 40 communities are living there from all over the country. So can we talk about strengthening devolution, counties, and not talking about tribes? Okay. I don't expect somebody at the level of a PhD to come here begin talking about, this tribe, Tiriki, Sab. Can we talk about something bigger that will lead us to where? What have I said? If anybody have a problem with the way structuring is going on, you can go and get a reprieve. But for now, because we are here to help the nation, Linda, we are here to help the nation. There are people watching us. Can we tone down? Can we engage positively instead of lithographic? We will not agree. Talk about tribes in national TV. You talk about communities and how we are going to move on.
All right, fair enough. Let's shelve that one. And there's been a shift. And as you come in, Dan, also introduced us to what Abdullah introduced us to. Yes, and definitely it's about the economy. We have shifted a bit from the question of politics, but we'll be coming back to that if time allows. The Hustler Fund, as you also wind it up on that.
Thank you.
Well, I saw that immediately after the launch. I said that in 1 second, I think there's 60,000 Kenyans applying for the Hustler Fund. And Doug have mentioned here that there are people who detest the 500 shillings that they receive, as the basic. I watched the launch, and this is my opinion about this, that Kenyans, and especially those who are targeted to get the fund, because the fund is, being populated in a manner that speaks to some constituency of young people, constituency of those who are doing small-scale businesses. Because for real, if the borrowing is between 500 to 50, is it 50,000 or the maximum, between 500 to 50,000, And my colleague, alas, tried to
still waiting for his message.
And still waiting for his message.
Perhaps it knows that he really needed it. It's a dynasty.
Yeah. So I too tried. I too tried. And one is about the issues. One, do we have enough data protection mechanisms to ensure that vital details that are provided, for example, like the M-Pesa PIN, you know, that you're being asked, especially, I think, alas, you saw that was what you asked.
Yes. Right after. And then you changed it.
Yeah, those Linda, those are very important because we have a risk of having millions of young people or millions of Kenyans, you know, providing very vital information that there is no, you know, there is no enough guarantee of protecting these vital information. The same issue that was dragged into court about the Huduma number.
Huduma number, yeah.
You know, is the same issue that I foresee. I can confidently foresee here that somebody will rush to court even today and say, you know, why are Kenyans compelled to give their key to their number? So that is one. Secondly is, I think, to be fair to the process, the consolidation of these funds, because I saw the members of parliament, some section of members of parliament asking, is this a consolidated fund where, you know, some percentage was taken from, you know, other funds and put together to form it? Or is it a government pledge, you know, post-election to have a kitty, you know, where Kenyans would borrow? So I think these are the issues, like I've said, I'm still assessing exactly what the Hustler Fund. But be it said and done, I saw the First Lady yesterday saying that, you see, it is that kidogo ile inajaza kibaba that people really needs to, you know, go borrow, refund it, then, you know, as your borrowing scale goes up and up, then you're able to borrow more and more. But the economy right now, I am wondering what one does with 475 Kenyans.
One of them bought unga, alisema nilimaliza hivi, mtoto akanunua.
Then ukitoa, inatoa 30 bob.
You know,
so unabaki na 430.
I know, because then ufa udharau ile kidogo kuna. But I'm also looking at the recession as that we are having in this country right now, where unless now probably a family sits down and they borrow together, you know, put it together,
combine and then
and to buy, and then which I'm really looking at the realities of making an economic impact. I know Daktari would want to,
and he's going to respond to that. That is a question that goes direct to him.
But these are the realities, because you ask the economic situation in this country about these funds, and especially what is the risk of still plummeting more Kenyans into a debt and the borrowing crisis in this country. That is my view about where we are.
Daktari, you'll be the last person to respond to this as you tell us what really the ultimate.
He should tell us the positive about it. Because sisi kazi yangu ni kuigonga tu. Yeah, to be honest, this is my work as an opposition member. The question is,
what will you be telling your people at Kamkunji?
What is the PIN number for? Why would you PIN yako? Siri yako. Why do I give you a PIN number and you're not M-Pesa? And then you want my M-Pesa PIN on your own services. So why? Tell Kenya. You see, so this is what my brother was saying. Engage people. Tell Kenyans, this is how it will be. Let them give you their thoughts. So now, you want their PIN. Brother, you've not gotten because you changed your PIN. Yeah, so you will not get a message. Yes, because now they cannot get you where they wanted to get you. So you will not get a message because your PIN is changed. So how would you get a message?
Okay.
So, second, deduction. Who is getting these deductions? And where are the deduction going to? Fuliza, we know it is NCBA and some other banks. We know. So we know under Fuliza, the deduction goes to
a certain bank.
To a certain bank, because that is the bank that has loaned me. M-Pesa don't have money. They are not a bank. So they have used a bank through their line to loan me. So my deduction go to NCBA. So who is the banker? Who is the underwriter? So is this a social scheme? Yes. It is like an SSF, NHIF. Because naleta pesa yangu, unakata, unaniekea sehemu yangu ya akiba. So who is the underwriter of the social security scheme? And what is the name of the underwriter? The name of underwriter tunajua hapa ni NSSF. Ndiye underwriter, nikipata mshahara inakatwa. So unajua mshahara yangu inakatwa inaenda NSSF. So here, what is the name of the underwriter of this scheme? Is it a name called DESI?
Kenya is really keen to know some of this. If you're going to get
that
this
is
money,
why I'm here. That's why I'm
to enlighten
here
them.
To enlighten.
Okay.
So who is the underwriter? Is it a name called DESI? Is the one taking my money?
Are you reminding us of DESI?
I'm keeping my money. So this is a social scheme. This is a social scheme where you start na 500, unapanda ngazi, ukikatangwa. This is underwriter. So who is the underwriter of this social security scheme? The other question is, I'm supposed to save for 60 years. Okay?
Yes.
If I will be alive up to 60 years. If I will be alive for 60 years, and if I die today, there is no way I'm writing my next of kin. So who is going to claim my money? And how is it going to be paid? And if nimeingia leo na in 3 days nitoke na nilikuwa nimesave 5 shillings, how will that 5 shillings get back to me? That I've gotten in, I've finished, now I want to come out. So how will I get my money back? So these are the things my brother here will come to tell me. I want to understand that if it is 60 years, and a 61 person want to join the scheme, which they have joined, for how long are they going to be under the scheme? Are they not older than the scheme age? And they are still saving. So how are they going to get their money? So dissolution of this hustler fund. The other day, a president will come and dissolve it, just as the way the president dissolved what? Hii ingine ya vijana kufanya kazi. So if it is dissolved, yes, kazi mtaani. If I become a president, which if I will be today, tomorrow I will dissolve it. That one I'm telling you.
So then what happens to
what happens to those people who have saved their money there?
Hold it there.
How are they going to get their fund?
I'd have played the devil's advocate to perhaps respond to some of the things, but Daktari is here. Yes, Data Protection Act. Allow us to take a short break, gentlemen, and then we come back to you. And lastly, Daktari, I hope that you are set to respond to some of this crucial information, because you say you've been part and parcel of the brains behind the coming up and the formation of this.
Aseme tu, Eric umesema hivi.
After this short.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands. Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands. Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates.
Yes, and Abdullahi, you want to allude to the question of what the Constitution speaks of, the question of, data protection, Article 31, and the Data Protection Act equally.
Yeah,
that comes into
the Constitution, gives fundamental right to have privacy as a fundamental right. So that is under Article 31C and D. On the data we provide to companies or certain entities, it is incumbent upon them to make sure that data is protected. Now, if you read cybercrime that has been happening in the last few years, banks even have been losing. You can imagine how secure banks' domains are. And still, they have lost, last few years, have one bank or two that have lost at least 54 billion. That was reported by the Business Daily yesterday.
Yeah.
So there is so much cybercrime in Kenya, and they were saying the .com is weak domain in terms of accessible to this. Another thing is that because most of the people live in the city, they tend to send you emails and with malwares, and then they can access your details because they will tell you, like these messages from Kenya prison, that I'm a beautiful girl from Canada, I want a husband, those crap. So those kind of things. So it is incumbent upon the Hustler Fund management to make sure that the Data Protection Act is implemented.
Yeah.
And if I changed my password, what business does Hustler Fund to do with that if there is no a sinister motive?
Okay.
Because the password is mine, the ID is mine, I often change it every 3 months, my password. But because they ask for my password, I give them my password. Once they send the message that they are going to get back to me in 2 hours, I changed it. No one got back to me. So if I am not getting that money because I changed my password, then there is a question.
There's a big problem.
There's a big problem. That's one. Two, I have a family, a wife, a mother, as my colleague was asking. If let's say, like Fuliza, I have around 25,000 limit in my Fuliza. So every time I'm stuck somewhere, or maybe I'm out of fuel, the banks are closed, I'm not in ATM, I take 10,000 and then I fuel my car or I send to my mom. That one, I know there is certain interest and I pay back. This one, there is money that is going to be saved. Like 1.5 something, 1.5 some shillings. And 30% of that now goes to another one, and then 70% is savings. Where do those money go in case I die? You see, I take 50 shillings. But for a bank, I have my mom and my wife and my kids are listed as beneficiaries, isn't it? They have their IDs, they have their phone numbers, maybe the email number of my wife. So in case something happens, my wife will go to the social service, department, report the issue, get a letter from the chief, produce a certificate, then she goes to the banks and get the money.
Yeah.
In this Hustler Fund, I am not criticizing it. I want to be enlightened.
You want to understand. I think every other Kenyan wants that.
Once I want to ask him that now that he's an expert on Hustler Fund and UDA, Kenya Kwanza outlet, why did I get the money because I changed my password?
For 25,000 Fuliza limit is a dynasty for sure.
Yes.
This one is a dynasty.
First of all, where are we today?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because of the number of transactions. Somebody is advised to try several because definitely the traffic is too high. The loans being processed is about, I think, 22 per second. That's about 1,300 per minute. So you can imagine the traffic is high. So everybody is
and my director is saying this. If this is an automated process,
and with
just like M-Pesa with handles, and I'm sorry that we're mentioning brands here.
The issue of the downtimes and all that. So what I'm saying,
why the downtime if it's automated?
Linda, no.
How many transactions does M-Pesa do in a second?
Listen, had this time. Allow me just 2 minutes.
Okay. But valid question.
Yes, good question.
Yes.
So far, 3.6 billion. That is the figure I had last night. And it's growing by the minute. Already gone. 3.6 billion. These are Kenyans. It's not people from Uganda or Cameroon, who came here and got the money. These are people from Kenya. 3.6 billion already borrowed.
Banks do 76.
As we speak right now, okay? That's about 10 million Kenyans already are registered. Already 10 million. So if you 1 or 2, and you see some of them, like my brother, he did it to test. The way you watch an illusion, it does not come. Kindly, come on, illusion juicy. So you on Wednesday, keep on trying if you need for the money. So we are talking about already 150 million repaid. Already repaid. There are people who are, and they go on television saying, we're asking you You take the money and run away with it. Those are the kind of things you're going to be talking on Thursday or Wednesday.
No.
Kenyans are repaying.
Just be on
Hold
the
on.
points.
Kenyans are repaying 150 million already. And another 150 million as we speak right now saved. What are we saying? The thing is already working with the people who want to work. However,
this is the question.
No,
this is the question. Fine.
Yes,
now,
I'm coming there now.
So where is this money?
Wonderful.
And how?
Yes, I wanted to give that because, as we say, we are talking to Kenyans, and they're saying also they want to know. So when they hear other people have taken, they know, kumbe, maybe I missed it, but there are some Kenyans out there who are doing it. Number one. Now, why
these are officials?
Why MPs?
Yes.
Why MPs? Yes, these are officials.
This is here. Yes.
Current hot ones.
Where do you
the most reason. No. Excuse me. I'm a governance person. And before I talk about something, I have serious information, right? Now, why PIN?
Yes.
We are saying we don't have offices. The government does not have offices where you go to achieve, you fill forms. They are using you already. That's why if you have been using M-Pesa for Safaricom, if you are using Airtel for Airtel, if you are using Telecom for T-Cash, it's within the framework that we have been dealing with. Only that now these organizations have been given the money to give you at lower interest. That is the whole issue. So what has been your deal?
The business structures that have been there initially.
So what has been your deal with M-Pesa, for example? They have your PIN because definitely if they have to recover the money. So I don't know why people want to run away.
They allow you to change.
Let me tell you what's happening. I think Kenyans have this idea. I think especially the ones who want to test it. They want to come, get the money and run away with it. No. The way you can't run away with your M-Pesa money, Safaricom, that's why the Hustler Fund is using already existing, you already working relationship with you, and that's why they are able to check even your credit history. How will they know?
They say
if today,
the online lenders, the digital lenders,
Linda, if you have a new, no, Linda, I will not allow.
You can
protect me.
M-Pesa PIN 3 times in a day.
And equally, the digital lenders that have been in existence, aside from those ones that are with M-Pesa, and perhaps they work with M-Pesa because this money has to come to your M-Pesa account and even your Airtel account, but they rarely ask. They will not ask for your PIN.
Yes.
They will not ask for your PIN.
They just ask for an ID.
Linda, hold on. By the way, and even I want to combine that with the issue of the next of kin.
Yeah.
I am a customer. I'm a subscriber with Safaricom. Okay. And M-Pesa. All my details are with them, including next of kin.
Yes.
That's why we are saying we are not inventing another thing. That's why we are not being told.
You're just working
go to a new office called Hustler Fund office, because then getting all that information will be tricky. But because of your relationship, if you are an Airtel person or M-Pesa, they have your next of kin and everybody. Now, what is important is this. No, hold on.
Okay.
Now they're talking. Oh, hold on. They're talking about data protection.
Can we allow him
the regulations? No, Daktari. No, we are not going to allow the shouting.
Linda,
you have your day.
Ask us also to question.
No, but you cannot question before you listen.
No.
All of this time, Daktari.
Linda, have I spoken? These guys have been speaking.
We want him.
Can I give me 1 minute?
Let him keep speaking. We ask. That's why we ask.
You have a paper and a pen. Can you lie down your notes? Lie down in the notes. Linda, you must protect me. Linda, you must protect me. You cannot have this guy
now making noise, gentlemen.
No. I'm the seat.
It is fine.
I'm responding to the questions. Can I answer with this, Linda? Let me end up with this.
Airtime, si tunamuongezea tu swali.
No, that's not in order.
Interjection is allowed in conversation.
Protect me from this.
You're protected. Even as you're protected, be conscious of time. And equally, let's pick some of these questions. And what it is that you're alluding to right now is something that the government should have done, informed the people on before it gets to this level where you now have to play the devil's advocate.
Linda, I want to be very categorical. There is what I think caught many Kenyans by surprise. Guys had wanted a new fresh thing where they are not known, their credit score and all that. We are using the channels available. Let me, if you get that, Linda, it will answer a lot of questions. So that that's why if I go through M-Pesa, because it's one that didn't have my history. So the issue of the data protection, it is there in the regulations. If you go through, unfortunately, many Kenyans, will not be able to go and lead. The regulations passed by Parliament have all those issues about the issues about where it will go, the data protection, It's all covered there.
That when another regime comes in, that this money
is law, yes. It cannot be changed because it's law already. Anything passed by parliament, it is binding to any government.
Dan should be having a question for you.
So the issue of savings is already there. Now look at the importance of this, of the whole issue. Beyond now what you talked about, youth fund and WEZO and WEF, they are continuing. The funds are not being corrupted. This is a new additional funds. And the whole difference is this. There is a component of saving which has never been there. And let me put just one clear, Linda. Then, to my understanding, is that today, we borrow money to do express way, all the highway, from Chinese, from their savings. What they save, they take to their own NSSF. The government, through Exim Bank, we borrow and pay a high interest to foreigners. What we are saying, and what is going to work in this country is this. Let us save, put money in
and so this money that is being saved is not going to be for an individual, it will be for the benefit of
the Kenyans.
For the Kenyans.
Kenya government will borrow.
All right, Dan, are you satisfied?
That is what we are saying. Why I was saying this? So he told me to talk calmly. Let me just start. Please, those 6 issues that you want to go and converse at I can give you answers right away.
We need 40,
I can give you those answers.
Let's allow
I can give you the answers right here. You don't have to go to Kamukunji.
Okay.
The question is,
yes.
Fuliza, when you're given 18,000 or 20,000, they give you 1 month. 1 month. Okay? Safaricom, I can change my PIN 3 times. But with Fuliza, unless I pay the 18 or 17,000 I borrowed, I cannot borrow
again.
So that's a pressure on me to pay so that I can borrow more, isn't it? Now, when you tell me that your password is supposed to be, you've changed your password and you're not going to access these funds, if Safaricom, that is the main domain that is providing the Hustler Fund services, is allowing me to change my PIN 3 times, you are coming with 500 shillings. Who are you to judge me on why I should change my password?
As it goes there, one question, as it comes to you, just a question.
This has been given a clean bill of health, perhaps to just come in and in defense of him. A clean bill of health with these entities that we are speaking highly of. Safaricom itself.
Let me also.
I don't think so.
But if the government is working with Safaricom, it's a clear indication that they've been accorded that clean bill of health.
I am tempted to think it's more of a coercion,
yes,
than a working relationship.
Is it?
I'll tell you this for sure. Just few days, I think a day to the launch of Hustler Fund, there are reports that some, especially those who had difficulty even accessing Fuliza, Safaricom opened the door. Because there are people who received the messages who are never qualified for Fuliza or now even to borrow, that were now allowed to borrow a day before the launching of the Hustler Fund. The reason why I think this is more of a coercion, and this I'll tell you why, and my two colleagues have raised this. Doctor have not really comprehensively answered this. Before you put, a technology of this nature, Safaricom provides now is 4G. In fact, they headed even to 5G technology. Quick, that you cannot have a backlog. But in terms of however much there is traffic on the borrowing, it's sufficient. M-Pesa never fails. However much people borrow in a second. The same to, I have not really used so much of Airtel money or even, telecom. But I can guarantee for sure that if there was a goodwill for the telephone money service providers to efficiently, provide platforms that are workable for Hustler Fund, this issue about backlog, or whether you are told you wait for 2 hours for confirmation, would not be an issue, especially if they were committed. Because this is a government function, is a government instituted program that should not fail, Daktari. So that's why I'm telling you, your reassessment with your mobile telephone providers should be more of a working relation. I think it was more of, you have to do this, because it's a government. And that is why even the backlog that we are receiving, who knows, probably is a backdoor frustration. Who knows is a backdoor response, because it's not really clear
It's not
why
It's not fair. It's not fair to say.
I mean, you are speaking.
To say that CEOs were coerced. Is that fair?
He is not saying it is.
But why is he failing on the first day?
He's alluding.
But I have just
secondly,
I've just done.
How much have you got? How much have you got?
I've gotten a bit of 500 shillings.
Oh, utaanza biashara ya
Yes. No, not me now because I may not take that. But the hustle, it means a lot.
Actually, Emmanuel is asking, we've not even been told where the funds came from anyway in the first place. And that is
why I asked about these consolidated funds.
Let him.
You know, that is why I'm asking about these consolidated funds. How many devolved funds ever since this government, 1990s, Latif, Sadak, what would you call them, those devolved funds?
Yes.
HIV, that even some people doesn't know the HIV funds that goes back as devolved.
Yes.
These funds that we do not really clearly audit and evaluate their impact, their functions, and how much is being remitted back to the government each and every financial year.
Yeah.
I am tempted to think, and you see, this is why I'm saying in this set, and if you investigate, you'll find out some of these things are logical. Youth fund and all those funds, I think there are some funds that are collapsed that we added up on these hustler funds. That is what I know.
Okay.
You know, I may say as a layman, but I think it is important for us to investigate the media to find out on these funds. Because billions of these funds, and Linda, if the government is serious about borrowing, the government will not want to play around with funds.
Yeah.
And I can tell you for sure. And the doctor has confirmed the people who borrowed and they're returning back. No one in government with the government devolved fund can say that if you are listed in CRB, that you are allowed to take these funds. Those who have got bad credit history, the way Alas has talked about, do you give away money and count it that this is given? Because you have a credit history. How do we build a nation? Building a nation, borrowing, refunding, borrowing back, and that is how, as much as you borrow land to give to businesses, by the time they return back to the state, they return back to the government, they return to the public. The returns are having impacts on the capital projects you're talking about.
Exactly.
But if you are saying that we are giving you funds and we are relaxing on borrowing, we are relaxing on following up on how you pay for these funds, the devil is in the detail.
And Dr. Abdirashid comes to your rescue. Kamora says he's watching, and he says, I asked Safaricom Care and our pins are safe. I hope that we can trust that and maybe perhaps go that extra mile to find out whether indeed your data is well protected. Dr. Beyond how much people can access, where the money comes from, what it is that, someone has to go through so that they get this money. The biggest fear is on, attaining the ultimate goal, which is about economic emancipation. That to work on a story and you hear someone say, I took 500 bob and nikanunua unga hapa na nikanunua ile ingine na tukamaliza na mtoto wangu ama na watoto wangu, is worrying. If at all this fund is genuinely about getting us into that, it should be injected back to business and the economy. What is being done to make sure that, yes, there's going to be that discipline?
That's important. Now, Linda, I'll say this. Forget about, the person who said about unga, atarudisha tu pesa, just maybe some excitement, but also listen to the story of the guy who bought eggs and got 400 refunded. Within a month, he'll have generated like 20. Please understand, there's another product coming. Now for guys like 10, who can be able now to go and borrow. You see, you always know when there's individual people, Linda, the risk of course is high. That's why somebody said actually, they borrowed 500, then the next limit was 1,200. Let's listen also to those success stories. And by the way, this for the people who are the lowest part of the pyramid. Now, I think very soon, there's going to be where now you are 10 of you, right? You're in a circle. Right. That one, because already, remember even a circle, the circle that I belong and you belong, just the fact that somebody has guaranteed you get money, right? You get a whole loan because of guarantees, so long as there's some shares there. So with this 10, the amount will be high up to 100 million. So that way you begin seeing, wow, guys will go fill a form, get $1 million, get 2 million, get 10 million, depending on what they want to do. Remember the beauty about circle is that you're all guaranteeing each other. So the way the circle is doing. So with the interest lower, Linda, you'll see that, wow, the biggest burden about credit normally is the interest you pay.
But the biggest burden that we have for MSMEs
Yes.
in the country
Yes.
is actually the business environment, that some of them can access credit,
Yes.
but again, the business environment is not so friendly for them to conduct business, and therefore, you might not even be able to gain the
Linda will
interest.
give you an example. You see these young men, border people, right?
Yeah.
So many like now they have circles, right? We have registered so many wherever we come from.
Yeah.
Now, with about 500,000, they'll go put a little, car wash, right? A border wash for about 200 in that center. And by the way, it's just 100,000 to put a whole maximum 150,000 to put a whole business of car wash. Even I want to call it border wash because they are the same guys who are going to go and wash that border there with only 100. Now, if these guys are in a circle with 100,000, they will not feel the interest. That is the story we are talking about. Can you imagine how many markets do we have in Kenya? Just markets of women, traders, 2020. Remember, today, they have that thing, get at something, where they go pull money. Here, the money is available, and it's what they can do locally. That is what will continue to spur the development. This was just class 1. This was just a start. Then by the time we go getting 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, up to 100. Now, you talk about the business environment. Even today, with all those harsh conditions, Linda, people are making money, but they are suffering because they are getting Shyrox who are charging high much interest per day. So the story here is, as we move on,
but this interest is fair enough.
Bigger groups will come, the interest is low, and the whole thing is good to learn.
And the groups is a whole different affair because the hustler is an individual matter. But then when you come as a group, is that Dan borrows, Eric borrows, I borrow. No, we come together, we bring these funds together.
No, yes. you borrow as a group. You borrow as individuals.
A group. Yes. Even and so you have a line that.
Yes. No. What happens now? Even today. This circle, most of these people, by the Linda, they are there. No. It's very simple. I mean, let me give you an example. So there's a circle called Subukia Boda Circle, for example. Right? They have about 300 members. Even today, what they do, they send money.
How will they relate with the hustlers?
Very simple. They already have an M-Pesa. Where they, even today,
how they as individuals?
One line.
No.
One line as a group.
Yes, what happens, they go and open an account with M-Pesa. They are given an M-Pesa line they use to even save their money. Where they save. It's where they save. Remember, they have already an M-Pesa number. One for the group, please. Not individuals. Individuals we are done. Up to 50,000 because of the risk level, that's why the amount is low. But you see, there's somebody who is doing something.
And then they're going to get how much money?
No.
There's a limit to the...
Up to 10 million. But those who are registered with SASLA, SASLA is now the organization that controls, that regulates the circles up to 100 million. Because now, again, the risk is lower because you are regulated by SASLA. But for these others, up to 10 million.
Have you looked at the Hustler website?
Yes.
Does it have this information?
It doesn't.
Look, good. Yes, we are on the first product. Linda.
We are on the first product.
We are on the first
product. This is the plan. This is the ultimate plan.
I think in February we are going to launch the other product, the others going all the way.
But if this is a success.
This is a first step. I mean, we are talking about almost 4 billion by now.
Gentlemen.
I mean,
okay. Linda, I'm here.
Yes.
No, Linda, I have information.
Linda, we are talking about
almost winding up, yes.
We are talking about hustlers, Linda. Who is a hustler? A pikipiki. Let's not demean people so much. A pikipiki rider is not a hustler.
They have lots of money.
Let's just listen. They are not hustlers. They are not hustlers. Hustlers, in my belief, is somebody with a brain, capacity that is logically intelligent, but has refused to do something for himself. Okay? Ignorantly provided by the government all resources, because everyone is given those resources by the government. It's you to go out and work. So is the book of James written. The idle man should not eat. You understand? So unaona umama mboga ako Marikiti ameuza lori mzima asubuhi by saa 12. Ameenda nyumbani na 10,000. Huo ni hustler. Linda, 10,000 lori moja. Huyo ameuza gunia mama mboga na ile tu aproni yake na tupesa neka hapa mama mboga. Go to the markets. If you want to see very well built big women, nicely bodied women. Utaenda kwa market utaona wanawake warembo. Ukitaka kuona people who are suffering ni watu wa ofisi wenye wanaitangwa dynasty. And if dynasty is real what they are saying, then let me be dynasty. Because the dynasty that fought for the devolution of Kenya was fighting for Kenya, not his family. The dynasty that was actually imprisoned and made Section 2A workable was working for Kenya. Yeah. So if that dynasty is making Kenya work because of seeing the bad and tell Kenya this is wrong, so that we go good, then let me be a dynasty. My function is to correct.
Right.
And if I correct, let me not be called dynasty. I'm correcting for the future. So my brother here is running away from the fact that Safaricom is not supposed to give out my bio data without requesting me. What happens in Facebook? When somebody wants to enter through your Facebook line, Facebook will give you what?
Details.
A detail immediately. Somebody is trying to access your, then you're told kindly, quickly confirm and change your details immediately. How then is Safaricom sitting with the government and offering government details that I gave Safaricom in confidence? Where is my confidence with Safaricom M-Pesa now? That they allow the government which has NIS and all the department, they already have my details. I have a car, they have everything, like my PIN number. I have a land I've bought, not one. They have all my details.
And if
so
they have
which
all
other
these
details
then why they worry if they have all these
I
other
was
details?
born in Kenya. They have everything since I was born. My primary school, they even know.
So why they worry about the
So
PIN?
why do they need my PIN now?
Why they worry about the PIN when they have all these? When they have all this? Gentlemen, the Terry has to leave. Yeah.
Go where?
Do you want?
The Terry has to go. The Terry has to go, and we have to close this. Allow us to take a short break. Allow the Terry to exit.
I think before he leaves,
yeah.
Sure. The issue about the young Kenyans who are dying in the Middle East.
Sorry, but are you Kenya Kwanza government?
Yes.
Because then you have to answer some of these.
Because
I hope this is being done. It's being worked on.
As we talk about hustler funds.
And we really spoke about this last week.
Yes. And sorry again that it's
a good thing. It's a good thing.
Because the crisis we are having in this country.
Yeah.
And it's a time bomb, because for us, if a nation, young people are not patriotic enough and do not have a confidence in a country and mortgage their lives in the Middle East and returning in coffins, and especially young mothers of this country. We are here talking about how government better equips the lives of young people. And this is not within the mention, because it's not part of what Kotu should be doing. I don't know why. They are mobbed into politics, not in this issue. Why the labor unions are not speaking about this issue.
There's progress if you'd read that article.
I know, but little progress.
Actually, one word. It's important now that he has listed.
Doc,
yes.
Doc, this is not something that you say it's one word and finish it.
Because he's going.
A summary, then we can discuss it.
A summary, 1 minute.
One word. There are millions of Kenyans who are living very well abroad. Right from Uganda, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. There are some. However, yes. Okay, first of all, we have to start from
the positive.
And also the fact.
Okay.
But there's a problem, especially in Saudi Arabia, not even in Qatar. Look, ask yourself, why only in Saudi Arabia? Because of the nature of engagement with the agencies. Agencies who actually drop ladies there. Who, no training, no nothing. And then you made it look very easy. Give this money, and that money sometimes is paid by the agencies who have been previously owned by very powerful people. And it's like the people in Saudi Arabia feel like they have bought you. The nature there, the culture. Because of the money they are asked to pay the agency. The agency pays, the people there pay the agency some money. The innocent ladies pay the agency. You get it? That's where the corruption comes in. So you are like sold. Actually, let me put it very clearly. That's what has been happening, Linda.
Moving with speed. I mean, and these agents do not live in Spain.
Dr. was there. Dr. Mutu was there to just look at, excuse me, guys, can we rework this thing? It starts from us here. You don't make people slaves. Actually, this has been a slave trade. Yeah, it's like you sell those girls. No, so innocent, not training on the culture, what to expect. Others are lied to. That you're going to get this job. When you land there, everything changes.
Perhaps Dan expected for you to tell us what is the government doing in relation to that. Allow us to take a short break and release you, Dr. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. Dr. has to rush to another assignment. I'll allow you, gentlemen, to give us your parting shots after this break.
47. The Home. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday.
So much traffic. You know, it tells you just how bad the country is and there's desire to go out. But equally, there's really nothing much in terms of progress in making sure that our girls are protected. Is it our social culture that is weak, or it's the other end?
I think, first of all, when you look at Kenya as a state, because we aren't a nation yet, because nations take care of their own. As a state that has all the machinery of a state, we have 10% of Kenyans, adults, employed in the formal sector. 10%. That was from Kenya National Bureau of Standards.
Yeah.
We have Nairobi as the highest area where you get jobs. Now, from 1963 up to today, our policies have led by elites. So everything we do, they make the narrative, they run away with it. So the whole discussion of Kenya today in this TV has been reduced to hustler. You see, that is the problem we have as a country. Kenya Kwanza must invest in agriculture. What kind of investment do you need? Like I told you several times, my father has 6 farms. What he needs are seeds provided by the government. He needs ploughing equipment, like tractors used for, floods controlling. We have fertilizers, and then we need capacity building, or what you call modern farming. Now, we used to use hoes, jembes those days. Today, we can have machines and equipment that can do 5 acres in less than 15 minutes or 20 minutes. You see, so from there now, we do like drip irrigation, piping, so that when you do greenhouse farming, it's not GMO. I'm talking about providing our maize that has been tested through the Ministry of Agriculture, biotech engineers. And then from there, my father's capacity is built in terms of providing him with the tools he needs. Then from there, the production will be above subsistent. Like now, there's a time we planted some tomatoes. A jerrycan was going for about 1,200, 1,300 in Mandara. Now, or sometimes up to 2,000. Now, when you get 20 jerrycan, harvest of 10, that is 12,000 per day. So if you get an average of 7,000 a day, my dad will be 210 rich a month. That is the salary of a 6-figure salary of a manager somewhere in Nairobi, or even higher than even a secondary head teacher salary. So what we need is 80% of our informal sector, whether it is in the small MSCs or agriculture, rely on what we can produce. Because I told you, Nyahururu or Laikipia or this far towards Samburu, if you travel, you'll see food that is just getting destroyed because there is no roads into those areas. There is no mechanism even for transporting those businesses or even markets. So let us stop this elite mentality of reducing hustler fund. Because I told you why this thing will fail. Safaricom will not allow competition from the government with Hustlers Fund. We will come back here after 2-3 months. Hustler Fund said the percentage of, Dr. was talking about 1.5, rate of about 3.4 million up to today. And they were talking about 15 million, 1.5 million per day. Banks do 76 to 77 million a day. So people are borrowing from the banks than Hustler Fund. Now, why would Safaricom provide me with Fuliza platform that I borrow 18,000, 10,000 and allow someone else with a smaller rate with 500 to come in? They will automatically sabotage it in one way or another, knowingly or unknowingly. And this will come to the face of the government flat-footed. I will tell you that.
Eric Ragalo.
Our girls are living for wherever they are going, and it's been a story for a long time. It's over 10 to 15 years. Quite sad, because you lose one person, you lose a whole system of lineage, because every human is entitled to their lineage. A girl like Nafula, that's a whole lineage. Maybe a community would have been formed through her. How are we formed? We all are parents, we are all children of one person somewhere. Okay, so it's sad that you've lost a humanity that would have followed behind. But why is the case? The case started in 1960s. When we got the country Kenya, it was such a beautiful land with very few people, many opportunities. Anybody with simple education was able to get jobs. No one, the job capacity in Kenya was, people were employed from university. There are people at third year, they were already earning salary. Then came 1988 to 1997. We lost our country. In that 10-year span is what we are suffering till today. Goldenberg came, and many other scandals that started after Kenyatta just came in. So much scandals. Kenyatta bought a very expensive vehicle, the Mercedes-Benz, which was very expensive, for nothing. And many other things that followed. Read the books, you will see them. So where did we lose it? We stopped developing our country. People came, went to school, got education, no jobs. Kibaki came, tried a bit. Economic stimulus package, employed so many. Uhuru came in, civil service stopped employing people, totally. For the last 10 years, how many have been employed? Very few. Very, very few. Then came a point where you have to know someone to be employed. It is true, you have to know someone to be a police officer.
Military.
You have to know someone to be in the military. We know. Only that way, ukisema unaambiwa, you are attacking the security of the country. You know, there are these things, tunauziwango ugonjwa, uoga. Kila wakati ukiongea, unajua una attack security system. We are saying, why would you know someone to become a policeman? Why would you know someone to go to KMTC? To study nursing, to study nutrition, or whatever? Why do you have to know someone to go to a medical school? And you know what happened during Boyd's time? We are saying Boyd was there. He crippled KMTC. You had to know someone to get to KMTC. Came a point, even people who are joining KMTC were not qualified. And they are the medics today.
Unfortunately.
So that is how our country went. We lost the systems. To an extent, our brother now is in jail after having treated patients the way he treated.
10 years.
He's now serving over 20 years. Came to a point now, we have to fake documents to become whatever we wanted. We have fake doctors, we have fake nurses, we have fake aeroplane operator, ule pilot mwenye alikuwa amebeba watu miaka mingi. That is where the system came in. So people who could not fake and there were no jobs, there are jobs provided abroad. How many Kenyans are in Qatari today wanachomeka na joto ya 50 degrees lakini wanangangana? Kenya was not born and brought up to sell their people. So where do we change this? If there are hustlers This is not the way to handle hustle.
Yeah.
The way to handle hustle is to bring up the situation in our country. The biggest employer is agriculture. Sufficiently provide institution of agriculture money. It will employ all of these people.
All of them. Wow. With a beautiful plan. The
Yes,
Hustler
beautiful
Fund has.
plan.
Let's wait and see.
Yes. Do you know there are countries where people don't live?
Yeah.
I was in South Africa. God has blessed me a bit. I was able to study there. South Africans don't leave their country. And when you go to South Africa, they ask you, you come from Africa? Yes. Go to Morocco. You come from Africa? Moroccans are not Africans. South Africa are not Africans. The only country South Africa can go, they go to Europe and America.
And it's study and back.
Yeah. You can't date a South African lady and bring to Kenya. Utampeleka wapi?
Na sijawahi ona by the way.
Utampata.
Sijawahi kutana.
Utampeleka wapi? Ataishi nyumba gani? She's black like you.
But you know the situation is equally dire.
Go to Namibia.
Crime.
Go to Namibia. Go to Namibia. You can't bring a Namibian in Kenya. How now? Even Swazi. How about Swazi? Uko Swazi.
Because this is poor.
We are damn poor.
Interesting. We have to close. We have to close.
That is how countries are managed. But we lost it. And we now paying why we lost. Our kids will continue dying. You cannot prevent them from leaving this country. Hata weke law gani, they will leave.
They will leave.
The only way, mtoto, ukitaka kuweka mtoto kwako, mpatie chakula. Go to Wajia kwenye ametoka. Half of people from Wajia wanaishi wapi? Oman, wanaishi Saudi Arabia. I'm telling you, our Somali, we call it that region Somali. Nusu ya hawa Somali wako Europe. Go to South Africa, kuna walalo. Waria wamejaa biashara. Na ni Mkenya. I'm telling you because I've traveled. And half of these Somalis, they are abroad. At least them, wakienda Saudi Arabia, they can mingle and merge because it's the same community.
Yeah, community, yes. Because they are.
But nywele ngumu akienda kule anapata shida. So how do we do it? We have to change our systems.
Yes, and of course we have
to have Somali wanaendaga kufanya kazi Dubai na wanaishi huko. Wanaweza fanya kazi Kenya. Because we killed the economy. Tuliwaeka wakaanza kuitwa jina fulani hapo ati wao ni terrorists. Then tukaanza kuwachapa. Kiwango kwamba ungeingia kwa matatu mwanamke Muislamu akuja kama amefunga hivi na amevaa dera mrefu amekaa hivi, mnaogopa kuingia matatu. Did you know that was happening?
It was happening, unfortunately.
So where did you expect them to go? They were left to your country so that they can go where they can be
accepted and appreciated. Gentlemen, you know, time is bad. We should have talked about Kalonzo Musyoka and the CECs and how, you know, the county governments are shaping up, but then time would not allow us. I hope that we can get time to discuss these ones because they're very, very important. The CEC matter still in courts, and perhaps those are some of the things that really drag the progress in the space of devolution. But Dan, as we close it.
I think just a minute on this issue.
Yes.
It's a global phenomenon. I mean, it's not only a context in Kenya. We are seeing that even Europe has provided funds within the countries where there's a lot of migration, so that the governments of those African countries to provide opportunities for those countries that young people would be deterred from thinking there are greener pastures anywhere. Have you seen cases where young people are taking perilous journey across the Mediterranean Sea?
Imagine.
You know, children are drowning. You know, people are getting into the all these ship, and you know, the story about Nigerians recently when they spent 3 days, you see, within you know, the waters of a ship just to find their way into Spain and all those parts. This calls for an African to renew and rethink African leadership, to rethink about what is their modalities of providing opportunities within their countries, Linda. But back to Kenya, and I agree very much with the last and Dr. Ragalo, that when you're looking at these pictures, they're grossy. I mean, look at the hope within the faces of these young people and women who are hoping, you know, that they would be dependable breadwinners within their countries. I mean, who doesn't travel once? You go to a plane, the moment it takes off, you are hopeful of returning better than the way you live yourself. You know, not foreseeing that you'll be returned in a coffin, you know, as a luggage. not as a human being. But quite interesting that what I saw, that the government, in their intervention, 374 million to build a safe house in Riyadh. You see, that is an intervention to build a safe house
where they can run to.
You know, where they can run to, acknowledging that people are indeed running for safety in Riyadh, and 374 million to do that. I think it's quite important, and I agree before Dr. leaves, there needs to be a constructive long-term engagement
with the Saudi government.
And the testimonies that are coming from the agents, and I was still reading as you say that we read, and I've seen, the agents are saying that recruitment processes is inclusive and is aware within the rad of government. This is very sad because government of the day, government of these countries, including Kenya, are aware that the young people are being recruited, probably missing the critical point of tracking these young people. You know, where they are going, their safety, their welfare, and money is flowing. And like, and I think probably that is why he's even left earlier, because the government,
you know, he had asked to,
of course he has to, but we are going to ask the government, this is within your knowledge, that even the recruited process you are quite aware about. How comes you disown when now there are cries and these things about people who are losing their lives, and the government now shift the blames to the agents when this has been made? So I think as we conclude, and I agree, we need more time probably to discuss about these processes, because this is indeed a time bomb. Even as we speak, there are some of them at JKIA this evening.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Even as we speak now, there are some of them at the Entebbe International Airport who are leaving tonight. You know, however much they are seeing their colleagues coming back in dead bodies, they are leaving. And you see, you cannot speak. You cannot, you know, I saw a funny joke. They're saying that you cannot convince three people. You know, one is a girl, a teenager who is in love. The other one is a supporter to Raila Odinga. I know. And the third one is a young woman who's determined to go to the Middle East. These are three people you cannot convince. They are determined and they will go. So we really need to rethink how we engage. But then you said it cannot be stopped. I don't know why, probably cannot. The government, through this, have said there is no more jobs in Saudi. It said it.
Yes, it says,
yeah, there are no more jobs. But they are leaving.
But they're leaving.
This evening they are going to Saudi. So I think it's important for us to, put some education and some knowledge.
I have a couple of agent friends that maybe someday we're going to have them and ask this, questions. Perhaps from them we can get answers. Gentlemen, time is out and we have to say kwaheri as well. Appreciate your contribution. Abdullahi Alas, governance and policy analyst. Asante sana. Dr. Eric Regalo, political analyst. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. Daniel Orogo, governance expert. Asante.